Pirate I was dug up by Robin, Chapter 261-280. Chapter 261 Rollins and Marine Veterans Open Black Lens Bracket 4/5 for Subscription Close Black Lens Bracket. Southwest of Alabasta, an emerging port city, Watchung. Spacious Crescent Bay. 3 great ships stand on 3 legs. No one had expected this sudden encounter. Even Shaki, the so-called intelligence passer, is the same. Who would have thought? Marine Chief Instructor Zephyr, who suddenly retired a few days ago, would come here. Could it be? Shaki's eyes narrowed to Vivi. She remembered the Battle of Chinfin Island not long ago. At that time, it seemed that Roland happened to be there too. He even delayed the rendezvous with Alice, the girl in the peaked cap, because of certain things. Even the old boy Zephyr dug it over, as expected of you. Shaki laughed and shook his head. Sister Shaki, what are you talking about? Is Marine Chief Instructor Zephyr really retired? Girl in the peaked cap widened her beautiful eyes and asked with a startled expression. But, why that? Zephyr is here too. Is it possible that he was chasing us all the way for Tenryubido's affairs? Impossible. It doesn't make sense. How did he know our whereabouts? The girl Alice's face was full of disbelief. Come on, don't think about it, Alice. Shaki touched the girl's head and smiled. Sister Shaki, why are you not nervous at all? That's the former Admiral Zephyr, and the veterans behind him. The girl Alice's gaze swept across the pretty faces of the veterans lined up on the warship, and she couldn't help but be moved. Not just the former Admiral Zephyr. And the old men on the boat. Neither one is a simple character. Just standing calmly gives people a very strong sense of oppression. They unintentionally leaked the gas machine, and even made the atmosphere become solidified and heavy. No matter what, it shows that they are not ordinary elderly people. More like a battle-hardened soldier. The fact is exactly that. Brooke, Crocus, look over there, there are enough old acquaintances today. On the deck of the merchant ship, Rayleigh glanced over the well-ordered line of veterans. There was a faint trace of movement in his eyes. Yo-hoo-hoo-hoo, it really is. Brooke laughed. Andrew, Albert, Alfred, Colin, Dean, Fitch. All those familiar faces that are nostalgic. Crocus sighed with emotion. It's just that compared to 40 years ago, there are really too few people alive now. Crocus is depressed. Yo-hoo-hoo, Crocus, be happy, it's enough to think that we can have another banquet with them after 40 years. Brooke laughed, but there were tears in the empty eyes. 40 years ago, it was not only Luo Lin who rescued the confused and desperate man from the Devil's Triangle, but also the veterans on the ship now. Although it was only for a short period of time, everyone was really good guys. The other side. The battleship that Sob and Crocodile belonged to. Crocodile, who was ignored by both Rayleigh and Zephyr, curled his lips in annoyance. However, he didn't take any further actions because he knew it. Whether it's Rayleigh or Zephyr, since it appears, it must have something to do with him. Other hand, it is also the reason why Inkadal is apprehensive. Because of the old people on the warship, he is also very familiar. Were the mainstays of Marine in the last era when Roger, Whitebeard, and Golden Lion were active. Just the Marine Vice Admiral of the last era, he has seen no less than 3 people. Others are also strong and monster-like Marine Veteran Rear Admiral. An existence that is not weaker than Vice Admiral. If you change to the previous one, you will see such a Marine lineup. People can't help but wonder, where is the Buster Call launched again? Gu Dong, overtime. The atmosphere surrounding Waisung port became heavier and heavier. The air is gradually drying. The people in the hall unconsciously swallowed their saliva. Hey, Sabo, who are those old men? Didn't they say there was going to be a party? My stomach is about to go flat. The boy in the straw hat, who couldn't feel the tension at all, covered his grumbling stomach, his tongue drooping out half a foot. Luffy, be patient a little longer. Sabo touched his brother's head and opened his mouth dotingly. Next second, Sabo seemed to sense something and suddenly raised his head. At the same time, Crocodile, Hades, Rayleigh, Brooke, Crocus, and Zephyr and veterans on the warship all raised their heads. Immediately afterwards, everyone in and out of Waesung Port raised their heads. Facing the dazzling sun, looked somewhere in the sky. There. Atmosphere. No, it was the space that suddenly rippled like water waves. From nothing, a tall figure appeared out of thin air in everyone's sight. Wow, the condensed atmosphere was broken with the appearance of that figure. There was an uproar in the audience all of a sudden. Brother Rolling, it's Brother Rolling. The Waesung headquarters building, Nami and Vivi hugged excitedly and shouted. Great, the mentor is finally back. I didn't know what was going to happen next. Koala let out a long breath. Tutor. On the bow of the battleship, Sabo looked at Roland, who appeared excitedly. Zoro, Usopp, Sanji, and the Shemale Bentham also exclaimed in unison, looking excited. The handsome uncle is here. Is the banquet finally about to start? Vitality of the Straw Hat Luffy is also invigorated, his eyes are shining, and the saliva is drooling. All eyes are on. In the sky. Roland's eyes first fell on Sabo and nodded. So the excitement on Sabo's face became even more intense. If it is normal, Rollins is sure to praise Sob for his outstanding performance this time. It was only today. Roland's eyes crossed Rayleigh's group of people, and finally fell on Zephyr on the warship and the veterans behind him. Even if time flies. Even though the years have left many indelible marks on their faces. Roland still remembers, clearly remember their once faces. Click, in the sky. Roland stepped down. There was a ripple in the air. Andrew. Roland shouted loudly as he stepped down. 2. On the warship, an old man stepped out first, his body stood upright, and his voice was even louder, with unspeakable excitement. Albert. Rollins took another step. 2. Alfred. Step down again. Dean. ... One step at a time. When Roland boarded the deck of the warship, 48 veterans were listed. Everyone. Zephyr opened. In an instant, there were 48 veterans. Even Aang, Vince and other gorillas who were hiding further behind stood at attention. Footsteps shook the warship, making waves in the calm harbor. Salute. ... Chapter 262. The audience was shocked. Open black lens bracket 5/5 for subscription close black lens bracket. All staff, salute. When Zephyr's loud voice fell, the 48 veterans who came out, as well as Aang, Vince, and others at the stern all stood at attention. Salute to Luo Lin, who was on the deck, his movements were uniform. A circle of ripples appeared on the calm sea surface of the harbor, spreading in all directions, shaking the audience. There was an uproar everywhere. Everyone inside and outside the bay widened their shocked eyes, and their faces were filled with disbelief. What the hell is going on? The previous adults should be behind the scenes. That ship is indeed a warship, after all, the one on the bow. But the former Admiral Zephyr. I recognize it. But, why did that Admiral Zephyr salute us? How holy is our president? The people on the dozens of warships moored on the periphery of the bay were all shocked and screamed. Sister Shaki, Shaki sister. Huge merchant ship in the bay. Girl in the peaked cap, Alice, Joe, opened her beautiful eyes once, and kept pulling on the corner of Shaki's shirt beside her. Don't pull it, your clothes will be damaged. Shaki said helplessly. Aga gaga, but, what the hell is going on? That Admiral Zephyr, and why did those veterans treat Mr. Roland? Alice, the girl in the peaked cap, was speechless. Because those veterans used to be that guy's subordinates. Shaki said with emotion. Mr. Roland's former subordinates, don't tell me. ... Another battleship in the bay. The main force of the expedition headed by Sabo and Crocodile also showed shocked expressions at this moment. His eyes widened suddenly. The chin almost touched the deck. That Chief Instructor Zephyr really came because of the mentor. Could it be that Zephyr will also be our partner in the future? Sabo took a deep breath and calmed down the stirring emotions in his heart. Captain, who the hell is ours? Captain Karak, he. Little Karak is the handsome President Marine. Daz Bones, Bentham, Galtino, Valentine, Day are also shocked. Cast inquiring glances at Crocodile. Ah. Crocodile narrowed his eyes and nodded solemnly. Alas. In Weisung Bay, the audience burst into an uproar, going straight to Shaohan. Only the huge warship remained silent. But that doesn't mean the people on the boat are in a calm mood. On the contrary. The mood swings of the people on this ship now are greater than anyone else's. The members of the pirate guerrillas who followed Zephyr maintained their posture of standing at attention and saluting, and the other side stared at them with shocking big eyes. Due to military discipline. Now they can't turn the shock in their hearts into words, wantonly loudly. But the shock in their hearts has already crossed the rivers and seas. Even Ain and Bins are two exceptions. Half a month ago, they followed Zephyr, who had learned the truth about one scale and half claw on Thousand Sails Island. Ain knew that Roland was most likely a lost legend from Marine's last era. Father of Vice Admiral Guillaume, the sister she admired, once brought her a strong psychological shock. A week ago, she learns of teacher Zephyr's resignation. At that time, she couldn't help but start to guess the reason. The sudden resignation of teacher Zephyr may be related to the legend they met on Chinfin Island. Now, conjecture becomes reality. Today, the true identity of that disappeared legend may be revealed soon. The girl Ain was shocked. His heart was filled with excitement and anticipation, and his beautiful eyes fell on the young man in front of the veterans without blinking. At the same time, warship deck. Compared to the shock of the guerrillas such as Bins, Andrew, Colin and other 48 Marine veterans. Their whole body was almost occupied with excitement and ecstasy. 36 years later, they finally met, seeing the former officer again, seeing the existence they admired. What a blessing. It's really great to be able to struggle to survive until now. All the 48 veterans have this idea in their hearts. Veterans ahead. Roland stood calmly. Deep eyes swept across the old face in front of him. Final grin issue. Long time no see, bastards. Roland had a bright smile on his face, laughing from the bottom of his heart. Yes, Roland Vice Admiral. Hearing the familiar greeting from Roland, Andrew and other veterans overflowed with joy. Can't help shouting in unison. Let's get rid of it. I'm no longer a Vice Admiral. Roland waved his hand. No, in our hearts, you will always be our chief. Stupid Dean, you know it, you don't need to say it. That's right, the boss will be ours from now on. Did you forget what Mr. Zephyr told us before we came? Sorry. The veterans burst out laughing. Luo Linjong, boss, over the years, many brothers on our ship have passed away, but the 48 of us are definitely not the only ones who survived. Former Marine Vice Admiral Alfred walks up to Roland. That's right, boss, and dozens of old guys who retired and returned to their hometowns are still on their way. Boss Roland, among our batch of Marines back then, the one who survived the most on board was the most promising. It's all because the boss has taught us. The veterans approached Roland one by one. They scrambled to tell Roland what happened over the years. There are joys and sorrows. There is also joy. Marine has always been a high-risk occupation. Life and death are inevitable. Because of Roland's immortality, the wars he participated in created many miracles with zero casualties. However, 36 years ago, when Roland disappeared, his Vice Admiral formation was also broken up and rearranged. Without Roland's protection, death on the battlefield is naturally unavoidable. Especially because Roland disappeared, His crew members were very excited in those years, and the death rate was even higher. But so many years have passed. On the contrary, the old people on the Roland ship survived the most. He has also produced the most high-end generals. Vice Admiral alone has 5 people and the military exploits are outstanding. In addition to their own efforts behind this, it is also related to the Shaoqiang constitution that they have received the treatment of undead blood more than once. Old guys, we won't go home tonight if we don't get drunk. ... Chapter 263. This kid is Garp's grandson. Open black lens bracket 1/5 for subscription. Close black lens bracket. Crash la la. Dozens of ships moved in unison. The calm bay of Ling made waves. Following Roland's order, all the big ships in and out of the bay docked. People shouted and danced happily. Carry the spoils of the expedition ashore from the ship. Stacked up into another mountain of going treasures. Under the sunlight, it shone with golden light. The shaking man couldn't open his eyes. Ha 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 ha, he really deserves to be our boss. I knew that the monsters that happened on the sea these days were not simple. As expected. Boss Luo Lin, this time we are all going to come to your place to retire. Even if you chase us away, we will never leave. It's up to you. Yes, boss, you have such a solid family background, it must be no problem to raise dozens of idlers like us. ... The majestic veterans spoke roguely one after another. Okay, you old fellows, don't smile all the time, can Mr. Roland be less of us? The retirement salary will definitely be twice as much as the Marine headquarters. Old Andrew said with a stern face. Roland. But, this is the one under his command. You bastards. Even in the past few decades, it still hasn't changed. Roland grinned, revealing a heartfelt happy laugh. No problem at all, you can pay whatever you want. Roland waved his hand and opened his mouth full of air. Ha ha ha. Under the setting sun. Weisung Square is full of laughter and laughter. Is night. The first time since the establishment of Weisung. It is also the opening of the grandest banquet. Under the orders of the big butler Robin. Countless wines and delicacies that have been prepared for a long time have emerged. It is continuously delivered to the spacious Weisung Plaza. The centerpiece of the banquet. Naturally, it was Roland, Zephyr, Andrew and other veterans. Around Luo Lin, there are the main members of the organization. Such as Robin, Koala and other little girls' team. Crocodile and his team. Rayleigh, Brooke and Crocus from the Straw Hats team. Vice Admiral. Wait all over the place. The laughter continued. 3 wine tours. It's late at night. There was a bit of drunkenness on people's faces. Hey, Zephyr, on such a happy day, let's sing a song to cheer up the fun. The last Marine song, you sang really well. Roland looked at Zephyr. Zephyr. The surrounding veterans all looked at Zephyr in amazement, their faces incredulous. The toughest instructor Zephyr in Marine can even sing. And it's not bad. If someone else said this, he would be mocked and denied. It's just that this is what their boss said. Then it's fine. Mr. Zephyr, come, sing one. Sing one. Brother Zephyr, here's one. ... Dean, Colin and other veterans who had been drinking too much roared. Teacher Zephyr. Ain opened his beautiful eyes, looked at Zephyr, who lowered his head and said nothing, and ducked to the side subconsciously. Accidentally fell on Roland's body. Ouch, came out of his mouth. At the same time, Zephyr, head down, looked up. An old face but not much anger. Okay, since that's all said, then I'll come to a paragraph. Zephyr nodded in agreement. Alas. Ain's pretty face showed a cute question mark expression. For a moment, he forgot to apologize and got up. He just leaned straight into Luo Lin's arms, motionless. To this, the veterans, who have always been the most boisterous, were not paying attention. The only thing I really noticed was the gathering area of little girls not far away. Resentment, eyes from Robin, Vivi, Nami, Koala and the little girl's Alice. Roland laughed. Then, holding onto Aine's slender waist, he repositioned the frozen Aine and sat upright. Good. The other side. The veterans, who were all focused on Zephyr, clapped and applauded. Cough cough. Zephyr cleared his throat. The sea. Yo ha 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 ha. What's the matter, brother Zephyr, go ahead. Zephyr, who had only sung 2 words and then paused, the veteran named Albert urged subconsciously. Zephyr withdrew his gaze to the other side. The sea is watching. Zephyr's singing resumes. This time, there were only 3 more words than before, and then it stopped again. This time, though, the veterans followed Zephyr's gaze. The source of the song that interrupted Marine finally. Yo hey 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 hey, bringing the wine of Binks to your side like the sea breeze, riding the wind and breaking the waves on the other side of the sea. The sunset is also noisy, and the singing of birds draws a circle in the air. Goodbye to the harbor silk country to sing. Sing it, the song of sailing. The golden waves and the silver waves also turned into splashes, and we set off to sail only for the ocean. The melodious pirate song, Binks' wine, came from the Straw Hat Boys' venue not far away. The atmosphere of the banquet, King Straw Hat Luffy, and the violin assistance of professional musician Brooke. The people in the surrounding banquet areas were all driven. Even if they are not pirates. The rhythm of the Straw Hat Boy and Brooke. Compared to the depressing, desolate and tragic marine songs. Sure enough, the joyous pirate song is more suitable for the atmosphere of the banquet. The emotions that Zephyr finally brewed twice. It was also interrupted by the Vitality Straw Hat. After understanding the reason, veterans Colin and Albert got up. Go straight to the area where Rayleigh et al. Knocked on the table. Hey, little devils, what kind of broken 5 songs are you singing? And you, Brooke, Crocus, what's it like to be among the kids? Come over to us, and forget it if you're a Rayleigh bastard. Of the 2 veterans made the atmosphere of the scene stagnate. Brooke's violin playing motion froze. A look of embarrassment flashed across Crocus' old face. Rayleigh curled his lips in disdain. Zoro, Sanji, Usopp, and even Sabo all shrank their heads at this moment, not daring to speak. Binks' wine isn't some shit song. Young and energetic shouts sounded. Naturally Straw Hat Luffy. Hey, Luffy, they are brothers. Usopp pulled the sleeves of the Straw Hat Luffy. So what? This pirate song is my favorite song, and I will sing it. Straw Hat Luffy said, unconvinced. Haha, it has personality, I like it. Former Marine Vice Admiral Colin laughs instead of anger. He turned to look at Roland. Boss, where did you find this rebellious boy, or let me teach you later. This kid, he's Garp's grandson, teach it if you want. Roland smiled. The whole place was silent at first. Next second. Alas. Chapter 264 One Piece, King of Pirates. I'm sure. Zephyr is stunned. This kid is Garp's grandson. Roland smiled. When his voice fell, the whole place was suddenly silent. Whether it's the veterans around Roland, or the boys and girls who know Luffy next to him. Either Rayleigh or Zephyr. Everyone's eyes widened and they looked at the puffy Straw Hat Boy in shock. This Straw Hat Boy with a lot of personality turns out to be Mr. Garp's grandson. Son of prophecy, Joy Boy, who has come across 800 years, is the grandson of that bastard from Garp. Former Marine Vice Admiral Colin, the legend of the great pirate Pluto Rayleigh, can't hide surprise and shock on his face at this moment. Alas. Alas. After a brief silence. Suddenly there was an uproar of surprise. Rolingo, is Luffy the grandson of the hero Garp? Vivi squealed. That, the hero Garp turned out to be Luffy's grandfather, so is it also Sabo's. Koala looked at Sabo. Well, I've seen Mr. Garp before. Sabo shrugged, without denying. Boss Roland, did you make a mistake? That The Straw Hat Boy is really Mr. Garp's grandson. Veteran Dean exclaimed. Straw Hat Luffy, monkey. Luffy. Zephyr murmured and nodded. Apparently heard the name from Garp. After learning that the Straw Hat Boy is the grandson of the hero Garp. The eyes of the veterans looking at the Straw Hat Boy suddenly changed. Rollins is a hero. Garp is also Marine's hero. The status in their hearts is second only to Roland. Since Luffy is Garp's grandson, he can be regarded as their junior. Ha ha ha, good. Former Vice Admiral Colin patted Luffy on the shoulder and said goodbye. It's no wonder that you have such a personality. It turns out that your kid is Mr. Garp's grandson. Not bad. Don't worry. As a senior, I will do my best to train you into an outstanding sailor. Retired former Vice Admiral blurted out subconsciously. Finished speaking, I realize that I am not even a retired Marine now. Don't wait for him to correct it. Luffy, the characterful Straw Hat, slapped his big hand away. Who wants to be a sailor? I'm a pirate. Luffy roared with open arms. Pirates. Colin, Albert and the other veterans were all stunned. What nonsense are you talking about, boy? Your grandfather is a Marine hero. You have to learn from your grandfather. The veterans persuaded with disbelief. Hear the words. Sabo, Zoro, Sanji and others all covered their faces subconsciously. They were already able to anticipate what the stunned young Luffy was going to say next. There's no way to stop it. Don't be too long-winded, old man. I made an agreement with someone before that. Luffy took a deep breath. One Piece King of Pirates, I'm done. ... After a long silence, the three of Rayleigh, Brooke, and Crocus stared at each other. Isho. All the veterans were also shocked by the lofty ambition of Straw Hat Luffy. So far, they have encountered many pirates on the sea who aim at the throne of One Piece King of Pirates. But no one has ever been able to give them such a strong shock like the Straw Hat Luffy. They who were once Marine, should, or must do something at this time, to stop the promising young man from going astray. But now they are shocked and can't say a word. Grandpa is Marine, grandson is going to be a pirate, son is. Zephyr murmured softly, and finally shook his head helplessly. This family, there is no one to worry about, there is no way to save it. Zephyr sighed. Boss Roland, Mr. Garp's grandson can't be controlled by ordinary people, you don't care. Retired former Vice Admiral Alfred looks at Roland. I don't care about that guy Garp himself. Who do I manage? Roland laughed. Then leave it to me. Zephyr pondered and spoke. Okay. Roland responded at will. By the way, those little guys are asking you. Roland said rudely. Zephyr. Forget it. When I decided to quit. He was ready to continue to be an instructor. After the little episode, the lively and cheerful banquet continued. The melodious pirate song Binks, Wine sounded again and spread throughout the square. This time, the veterans did not interfere anymore. Instead of worrying about the little things. Naturally, drinking, chatting, and spanking with the boss, Luo Lin, is more important. After midnight, most of the people participating in the banquet in the square fell down. Under the arrangement of a special person, he will be sent back to the residential area of Waisung to rest. The night passed. Dawn comes. Watchung Square gradually recovered its tranquility. Under Roland's orders, the veterans who wanted to continue drinking with Luo Lin for 3 days and 3 nights all went to recuperate. Luffy and the others, who were still full of energy, moved to another place to start the second carnival. The roof of Waisung headquarters building. Roland and Zephyr were side by side, facing east. There, the sun rises gradually. Heralds the arrival of a new day. At the same time, it seems to herald the beginning of Zephyr's new life. We want to fight against the world government with 800 years of history and Marine, our strength is not enough now. Zephyr looked at Chaoyang and spoke. I know, That's why I brought those guys in too. Zephyr, you have to take it easy, don't be a pirate and you want to do it. Roland laughed. I know, if I really wanted to do it, I wouldn't be able to hold the banquet last night, and Rayleigh was fine. Zephyr rode. I know you won't do it on Rayleigh's side, I want to say another. Roland rode. The other who? Zephyr looks surprised. Oh, here we come. Roland looked north. Gia ha ha ha. Unruly laughter suddenly sounded from the northern sky. There were two shadows in the sky. Incredibly fast. In no time, he came to the sky above the square. Hey, the banquet here is over. Isho boy, it's all because of you that this old man missed the banquet. The way of Golden Lion Shaki's dismay. Bastard Shaki, you, clearly holding me and I haven't told you yet. You, better just hit me. Swordsman. Isho said angrily. Gia ha ha ha, this is called the first to be strong, to say what others say to make others speechless, you are still far behind. Golden Lion Shaki laughed. His eyes swept from all directions, and when he saw Roland on the roof of the headquarters, he immediately smiled. Big brother. Subconsciously revealing the black arm, Zephyr who entered the battle state. Chapter 265 New Straw Hat Pirates formed. Brother, so you're here, I am sorry, I'm late. In the sky. Golden Lion Shaki waved to Luolin on the roof of the headquarters with a smile on his face. Big brother. At this moment, Zephyr's old face was already occupied by an emotion called shock. Can't be wrong. That blonde bastard is definitely the flying pirate who disappeared for 20 years, Golden Lion Shaki. The big king who once stood with Roger and Whitebeard. The sea of the past. Garp against Roger. Whitebeard's Edward Newgate counterpart to Admiral's Sengoku. Like Sengoku, it is the Golden Lion Shaki who is the opposite of Admiral's Zephyr. It was only a series of incidents that happened later because of the tragic murder of his wife and children by pirates. Zephyr resigned from Marine Admiral in dismay. Fade out of the sea. There is no intersection with Golden Lion Shaki anymore. Until today. Zephyr once again saw the opponent he once faced off. Almost subconsciously. The extremely powerful armament hockey covers Zephyr's arms. His aged body stood upright at this moment. All the muscles in his body were tense, ready to fight. But at this moment, just when he was about to start, originated from the mouth of Golden Lion Shaki, the big brother full of joy, made Zephyr's condensed power disintegrate. Confused look on his face. The whole person froze. Gia ha ha ha. Just when Zephyr was stunned, Golden Lion Shaki in the sky swooped and stood on the roof. Shaki, you didn't bully Isho last night, did you? Roland asked. Gia ha 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 ha, how can you, big brother, learn from each other, just learn from each other, Isho himself agreed, you say yes. Golden Lion Shaki towards the swordsman. Isho winked. Teacher, the word, bully, is inappropriate. It was clear that I had the upper hand in the battle last night. Swordsman. Isho corrected. What are you talking about, Isho boy? It's obviously lousy who is better. Golden Lion Shaki raised eyebrows. If you don't agree, let's come again, and this time let eldest brother be a witness. Come on. Isho and Shaki. Heavy and fluttering. This pair of fruit ability enemies didn't agree with each other, and they rose to the sky again and began to fight. Until the battlefield of the two shifted to the distant sea. Zephyr finally came to his senses. That Golden Lion bastard, is it also because of your blood? Roland nodded. Some time ago, I wanted to help him, but the guy insisted on doing it. I still have things for him to do, so. Roland explained it succinctly. Zephyr frowned and Vivi frowned. As one of Roland's closest comrades in arms. Of course he knew the effect of the magical blood in Roland's body. Also know that the status of Golden Lion Luffy's younger brother is not permanent. Over time, the suppressed nature of the golden lion will gradually recover. It must be a big hassle then. Old man, what if that golden lion bastard recovers? Zephyr asked. Recover? Roland grinned Isho. For the time being, his ability is really convenient. I want to continue to use it. If it recovers, then I'll give it another punch. Let's go. Roland smiled lightly. Zephyr. However, it also seems interesting. The corners of Zephyr's mouth also twitched involuntarily. Thinking of the rebellious Lion King who once swallowed the world, regained his sobriety. The frantic look after realizing the behavior of his younger brother during this period. Even Zephyr laughed in anticipation. Right above Alabasta. Sky Island. Going urban Chandora. The first banquet at Waysung Plaza was over. Of the second banquet for the youthful youth and the girls is Sky Island Going Township. After knowing that there is a Sky Island 10,000 meters above your head, as well as the legendary Going Township and Going Bell Tower. Not only the Straw Hat Luffy, but also Sabo, Zoro, Sanji and others couldn't sit still. The first time I wanted to go to the sky to see it. How can they go if they can't fly? Can only turn to the former Sky Island god Enel. However, the arrogant Enel, of course, refused. Until Luffy et al. Find Robin and Koala et al. The little girls around Luo Lin came forward. Enel compromised. Obediently became a driver once. It carried a boat of energetic young boys and girls, and a few old guys who wanted to revisit their old places on the Sky Island. Nami, Vivi, familiar faces. To Earth people of Sky Island naturally welcome guests to the highest standards. The second party of the Straw Hat Boys' favorite party will resume. This time the location is the Clock Tower Square in Going City. Ha ha ha, Ganfer, the old chief, it's been a long time no see. Going in front of the bell tower. Rayleigh, Brooke, Crocus and Sky Island, Ganfer, the chief of Shandia, were drinking in 5 pairs. After many years. Meet the Rayleigh trio of Roger's gang again 3. Ganfort's face was also filled with joy. It's just that the old chief of Shandia kept a straight face and didn't speak. Hey, what's the matter, old chief? Brooke laughed. What's the matter, you guys don't know what to do. Back then, you secretly wrote letters on our big clock tower. This idea was Roger's, and the one who started the lettering. The Kazuki family, why didn't they come? The old chief said angrily. Listen to the old chief's complaint. The faces of the 3 of Rayleigh, Brooke, and Crocus froze involuntarily. Apparently he remembered that incident. Sorry. Rayleigh smiled awkwardly. If you want to apologize, let Roger and the Kazuki family come in person. The old chief was indignant. This is probably no chance. Captain Roger died more than 20 years ago, and Odin. Having said this, Crocus paused, and finally just shook his head. Heard the death of Roger and Odin. Ganfer and the old chief were also stunned. Sorry. This time it was the old chief's turn to say sorry. Uncle Rayleigh, what are you doing? It's a banquet now. Clock Tower Square, the Straw Hat Luffy stretched out his arms and had a cup with Rayleigh. Feeling very happy. Because except Zoro, Sanji, Usopp 3 people. 2 powerful companions, Lucio the Harvest Swordsman and the Fishman Noble. Straw Hat Pirates will be formed soon. Ha, Luffy is right, come and come, drink and drink. Rayleigh laughs and raises a glass. Chapter 266_Usopp's 8,000 Subordinates. Sanji has no love. Sky Island. Going Bell Tower Square. The second happy banquet is still in progress. Hey, you're the War Ghost Weber, do you want to join my pirate group and go out to sea together? The youth with the vitality straw hat stretched his neck, and sent out a partner invitation to the Sandia warrior Ghost Weber. Pop, as for this strangely matured teenager, War Ghost Weber slapped Luffy's head back with a slap. Ha, failed again, Luffy, come on, eat some meat. Sabo grabbed a large piece of flesh and shoved it into Luffy's mouth. Delicious. Straw Hat Luffy Sunshine's face suddenly showed a bright smile. Aside. Haired swordsman Lucio and the fishman youth Nob looked at each other. Known each other since South Blue. In front of them gave them a lot of shock. His ambition, his spirit, and the inexplicable temperament in him. It's all about attracting them. Ever. They had heard similar feelings from their teachers. Even if they haven't seen the legendary One Piece King of Pirates Roger. But now. They seem to be able to see what the future One Piece King of Pirates will look like. Even without a hint from Rayleigh. They had also decided in their hearts to agree to Luffy's partner invitation. Haired swordsman Lucio and the fishman youth Nob is that they don't know how to speak to Roland. And taught by Roland that day, and after learning of Roland's identity, they had already decided to follow. Even without saying it. They can't fool themselves. Young people can do whatever they want, no need to worry about this and that. Just when Lucio was in a dilemma with Fishman Nobel. Roland's voice sounded in their ears without warning, causing them to widen their eyes unconsciously. Uncle. Rolingo. Tutor. Handsome uncle. Mr. Roland. Lord Roland. Master God. ... A time. The lively bell tower square sounded a series of surprise shouts. Everyone's name is different. But there is no doubt that it was Luo Lin alone. Roland's sudden arrival. Ling's lively banquet fell silent for a moment. Immediately afterwards, more intense cheers erupted from the bell tower square. Roland squeezed his hands. So the tumultuous noise gradually subsided. Roland's eyes first fell on Sabo. Sabo hurriedly wiped his hands and stood up straight. Sabo, I already know about South Blue for the past 2 months, you've done a great job. Roland spoke up. The compliments that I didn't have the time to say yesterday are naturally going to be given today. Yes, thank you for your praise, I'm still a long way off. Sabo straightened his back and spoke modestly. Continue to cheer. The 3,000 people who returned from the South Blue battle will be fully managed by you in the future, and there is no need to inform anyone, and the same is true for me. Roland rode. Teacher, this. Hearing this, Sabo suddenly widened his eyes in surprise. This is the reward you deserve. Roland smiled, and then looked at the youth with the vitality straw hat. Sensing the sight from Roland, Straw Hat Luffy turned to look. That there was no one around, he pointed to himself. Tell me, what reward do you want? Roland rode. My word, I want a ship, a handsome big ship, if I can use the going ship as my pirate ship. Luffy was not polite at all. But it's not because of greed for going. But I'm really interested in the flying arc. When Luffy's voice fell, the whole place was silent for a moment. Rayleigh even showed a schadenfreude expression. Rollins narrowed his eyes. Since he said it himself, it's not easy to dismiss it, let Rayleigh see a joke. But the next second, just before Roland was about to nod his approval, a delicate pink fist suddenly fell towards the Straw Hat Luffy's head. Idiot Luffy, what are you talking about? That's my going boat. Besides, the going arc is powered by electricity. Without electricity, it can't fly at all. Idiot, give me another request. The little girl Nami waved her little pink fist. Punch out big bags on the Straw Hat Boy's head. As the #1 financial officer of the WA organization, how could Nami watch the worthless going arc get ruined by the idiot Luffy? Fly, can't fly, then change to another one. The Straw Hat Boy spoke succinctly. It's not because of Nami's force, it's purely because the going ship that can't fly is not very attractive to him. Is that right? Here Luffy dismissed the idea. Nami immediately put on a kind face again, and touched Luffy's head, which was full of buns. Full of promises that when the boatmen from the Carrera Company in the water capital come, they will make them the best boat. The rewards for the Straw Hat Boys are over. Roland turned to look at Zoro. A random move with the right hand. Next moment. 2 knives displayed in the Wei Sung treasure house. A large and sharp knife has 21 jobs, and a good and sharp knife has 50 jobs, disappearing out of thin air. Then appeared in the hands of Roland of Sky Island. Next, Zoro boy. Roland casually threw the 2 knives to Zoro. A swordsman of the 3 swords style. In Zoro's hand, except for and Daoyi's characters, the other 2 sabers have been changed a few times. For Zoro, the best reward is naturally a famous knife. Zoro took his new knife with a face full of surprise, and bowed respectfully to Luo Lin. It's my time, my boss, when will you arrange 8,000 subordinates for me? Usopp opened his mouth expectantly. You really want 8,000 subordinates? Rollins looked weird. There is a play. Usopp's eyes suddenly lit up. Nodding again and again. Okay then. Roland nodded. Instead, he waved at a dark-skinned Sandia warrior in the square. Lord God, what are you looking for from me? The snot-noting Sandia kid looked at Roland excitedly. In the future, you will follow Usopp with a long nose, 8,000. Roland rode. Yes. The snot kid stood upright. Wait, boss, what I want is 8,000 subordinates, wait. Usopp seemed to realize something, and turned to the snotty kid. Brother Usopp, my name is Bakion, please give me more advice in the future. The old-fashioned way of the snotling kid named Bakion. Usopp was stunned, wanting to cry without tears. Ha ha ha. Everyone who realized what happened here couldn't help but laugh out loud. Roland smiled, crossed Usopp, and finally walked to the restrained Sanji. East Blue Cook Island a few months ago. Sanji used to be extremely envious of the beautiful clouds around Luo Lin. For this, Zeph was beaten badly. Now, after learning about Roland's hidden terrifying identity, Sanji couldn't help but be so nervous that he couldn't say a word. We got transparent fruit on this trip. Roland spoke up. Hear the word, transparent fruit. Sanji's eyes suddenly lit up like light bulbs. I want. Sanji couldn't wait to speak again and again. Because of Paramesha's transparent fruit, that was his dream since he was a child. Looking at Sanji's eager look, Luo Lin spread his hands. It's a pity, the transparency ability has already belonged to the little girl Vivi, but Germa's number 3 transforming device is the same. Sanji couldn't hear the second half of Roland's words. When he learned that the transparent fruit passed him by. Whole person seems to have suffered a thunderbolt, squatting in the corner of the wall and autistic, with a lifeless appearance. Ha ha ha. Dang, people's laughter echoed at a height of 10,000 meters with the melodious going bell. At this moment, 9 kilometers in the sky. A hot air balloon is still rising in height. When the going bell rings, the people in the hot air balloon are all invigorated. Such a beautiful bell, ha 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 ha, can't be wrong. North Blue explorer Nolan didn't lie 400 years ago. Both the Going Township and the Going Bell actually exist. I can't wait. The News King Morgans laughed and spread his wings first. Chapter 267 Stewed Morgans. News King scared to pee. 7 kilometers above the ground. Clouds cover the fog. As far as the eye can see, there is a sea of white clouds. Boundless. The moment is spectacular. Suddenly there was a sudden sound from the cloud layer. After a while, a huge aircraft broke through the clouds and reached an altitude of 7,000 meters. This is a giant hot air balloon. On the ball are written the words, World Economy. Represents its belonging. This is the newspaper headquarters of Morgans, the News King who ranks as the King of Darkness. Morgans, who has devoted his life to making big news, discloses other people's private information everywhere. Nature has made countless enemies and offended many big pirates in the New World. To be able to live peacefully. It is because of this mobile headquarters that he set up. Same as Golden Lion Shiki, floating islands. His whereabouts are erratic. Even a powerful pirate in the New World, trying to catch him flying everywhere in the air is as difficult as going to the sky. Look over there, there's something over there. That's a door. Saw the gate hidden in the clouds through the observation glass, and suddenly screamed. Where? Morgans, who was photographing the spectacular sea of clouds, rushed forward for the first time. Urge his subordinates to approach the hot air balloon headquarters in the direction of the gate. There really is a door. Look, there are words on the door frame. The gate of heaven, have we come to heaven? Through those fans, is it heaven? We actually found the entrance to heaven. ... The newspaper reporters at the hot air balloon headquarters were shocked and shouted excitedly. A bunch of idiots, what are you thinking? How can there really be a paradise in the world? Hurry up and prepare, and continue to rise. Morgans reprimanded. However, the excitement in the eyes of the birds was stronger than anyone else's. Indeed, it is not heaven. Because that's the Sky Island. The Sky Island that exists at an altitude of 10,000 meters is not uncommon for Morgans. Relying on his albatross ability, he once also boarded the Sky Island in the New World. But, only this Sky Island is different. In recent months, it has been a period of collective outbreak of major sea events. First, Shichibukai crocodile's abnormal behavior of Occupy East Blue as a hero. Then the Dark Forces jointly attacked Waesung, but the hero Garp and Mahawk were killed. Then there is the death massacre in Mock Town, and the disappearance of the island of the base of the Dark Forces that did not cause a huge sensation. The world's largest news expert. Morgans has an innate sense of news. So he resolutely gave up the New World. Instead, the entire headquarters was relocated to the park in the first half. It turns out that his decision was correct. It didn't take long for me to come to the park. He was the witness and reported the duel between Admiral Kuzan and the mysterious and powerful Guro no Mi, Rumble Fruit. Afterwards, he exclusively obtained the first-hand information of the Enies Lobby incident, which made the world a sensation. After the Enies Lobby incident was reported, Morgans was not idle. Mock Town where the demon slaughter incident occurred to investigate. As a result, the demon incident was not investigated, but he noticed another more interesting thing. That is the going bell floating above the sky. After many sources of information, ancient books inquired. Morgans finally found a clue. That is the story of Noland, the big talker that is widely circulated in North Blue. The legendary Going Township Shandola. Going Clock Tower, which hides a huge secret. Morgans felt vaguely that he had found the truth. 400 years ago, the Going Township that Noland insisted on until his death was real. It is not sinking into the sea because of the movement of the Earth's crust. It's heaven. Think of that. Morgans is gearing up to reveal this amazing historical event. Let the legendary Going Township and Going Bell Tower reappear in the world. However, without waiting for him to reinforce the hot air balloon headquarters, he began to explore the Going Township operation. The Battle of Chinfin Island broke out. Morgans received the information and rushed to the scene immediately to collect information. A lot of first-hand information was obtained. Shortly after, even bigger, the Sabayati Earth event that shook the world happened. Pluto Rayleigh reappears in the sea. Tenryubito is dead. The top duel that almost destroyed the land of Sabayati. One after another, it is an incredible event. Morgans went to Sabayati land again. Published news features one after another on those events. Until recently, he finally got some free time. Coincidentally, the reinforcement preparations for the hot air balloon headquarters have also been completed. Morgans is planning to restart the Going Township operation. Only when he came back to Jaya Island. But he was shocked to find that the Going Bell had disappeared after many inquiries. He found a big news that shook the world. Someone took the whole piece of Sky Island. Found this hot spot. Morgans was so excited that he could not sleep through the night. Searching in multiple ways. finally locked the new location of Sky Island going township. Kingdom of Alabasta that he was going to leave for the final interview and investigation. Everything is connected in series. Balance again and again. Morgan still decided to visit the legendary town of Going first. After all, the main part of the main dish is naturally the last one. Chandora, the city of Gaia going that flew to Sky Island 400 years ago, is finally going to be revealed in my hands, and there is that mysterious powerhouse. Powerful enough to move the entire Sky Island. I don't know if there is any this time. Chance to see you. The height of the hot air balloon is rising. The expression on the face of the News King Morgan's bird became more and more excited. 8 kilometers. 9 kilometers. Dang, dang, dang. The melodious and beautiful going bell came from the sky above a kilometer, resounding through the sky. The people at the headquarters of the newspaper office were all ecstatic. Come, 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 it's here, Going Big Clock Tower. Morgans exclaimed in excitement. I can't wait for a second, I'll take a step first, you follow. After his eager opponent gave an order, the albatross Morgans flapped his wings and rose to the sky first. After a minute, Morgans broke through the cloud barrier. Officially came to the altitude of 10,000 meters. How spectacular is this? Looking at the endless Baybihai in sight, and the land island in the middle of Baybihai. Morgans couldn't help but stare blankly. Chi-chi. Just then, Morgans only felt a little blue light flashing in his line of sight. Next second, an electric light suddenly appeared in front of him. You are. He looked at the young man of electric light who suddenly appeared in front of him. Morgan's pupils shrank suddenly. A deep shock flashed in his eyes. He had already recognized the other's identity. It was Thor who shined in the South Blue War. I thought who was so bold to invade God's territory. It turned out to be a big bird that I haven't seen before. Enel scratched his ears casually. But it's just right, such a big one, it must be good for stewing soup. Wait, wait. Hear Enel's diabolical speech about making his soup. Morgan's eyes were full of horror, and his black trousers couldn't help but get wet. Morgans waved his hands again and again, trying to explain. Next second, Chi-chi, terrifying thunder and lightning suddenly descended, scorching his entire body black. Go back. Enel carried Morgan's bird's legs upside down and returned to the bell tower square. Chapter 268 Rayleigh, the Pluto who dislikes the integrity of his mouth and body, 1/5 for subscription. Sky Island Going City. The banquet at the bell tower square continues. The Vitality Straw Hat is eating meat while imagining how handsome the pirate ship that will sail in the future will be. Then he is about to undergo a hell training from the devil instructor Zephyr. Zorro, the 3-knife flow green algae head, sipped his drink while stroking his new knife with loving eyes. The long-nosed Usopp touched the small heads of the 8,000 subordinates in front of him, wanting to cry without tears. As for Sanji, who passed by his dream, he still looks like a self-absorbed autistic person. Especially after seeing Vivi use the transparent fruit ability in front of him, Sanji is even more envious of hitting the tree. The base of the Great Bell Tower. The three of Rayleigh, Crocus, and Brook are still drinking wine with Ganfer and the old chief of Sky Island. Just compared to the original beauty. Now Rayleigh's old face was full of resentment. Even the delicious wine that he used to admire, now in his mouth, it exudes a sour smell. Rayleigh. Deputy Captain Rayleigh. Crocus and Brook both shouted. Ah. Rayleigh responded with an afterthought. Drink and drink. Brook and Crocus followed Rayleigh's previous line of sight and looked at Yin Yang on Roland's side, listening to the laughter over there. The two looked at each other the same, and then nodded tacitly and clearly. Rayleigh, keep your composure and don't compare yourself. Crocus consoled earnestly. Who wants to compete with him? Rayleigh raised his eyebrows. Yo-hoo-hoo-hoo, Deputy Lay, I am also very envious of Mr. Roland being surrounded by so many little girls, but there is no way to just envy, who makes Mr. Roland a hero. Brooke said with emotion. Hero cut. Rayleigh gave a disdainful cut. What kind of hero is a man who hangs around with women all day long, and a man will be a man? Rayleigh spoke imposingly. Brooke and Crocus looked at each other again. I thought to myself that the once prudent old king of Pluto, Rayleigh, has finally collapsed. Crocus, you said that Deputy Rayleigh did not like to see Mr. Rowland so much. What happened? It's not just because he was envious of Mr. Rowland being so small. Girl, after all, Deputy Lay is not such a stingy person. Brooke whispered. Unclear. Crocus shook his head. But my observation hockey is able to sense the ups and downs of people's emotions, and I found something interesting. There was a gleam of wisdom in Crocus's lenses. What did you find? Brooke is curious. Rayleigh seems to have been using words to cover up his true thoughts. In fact, he is also very happy and excited about Mr. Rowland's resurrection. Crocus exclaimed. It was so, it was so. Brooke nodded knowingly. I immediately thought of a rumor from the Roger pirates in the past. Could it be that the rumors are true, like Captain Lay, who is willing to be Mr. Rowland? Shush. Crocus stopped Brooke's. Sensed the resentful stare from Rayleigh. Brooke, Crocus, what are you whispering about? Rayleigh looked at the two of them resentfully. No, nothing. Yo hey hey hey. Crocus and Brooke turned their heads quickly, not daring to meet Rayleigh's eyes. Just when Rayleigh was furious, gritted his teeth, and wanted to go crazy. A blue light flashed in the sky. It's that kid named Enel is back. Crocus quickly changed the subject. Bang, just as Crocus' voice fell. A charred figure fell on the ground of the square. In the sky. Enel is released. Elementalization, revealing the true body. God, this subordinate caught a special big bird. I don't know whether to stew or roast it. It's up to God to decide. Enel's humble opening. Sniff, the straw hat boy who smelled the smell of barbecue squatted beside the charred big bird, his nose twitched. A pungent smell of burnt feathers penetrated his olfactory nerves, causing the youth in the straw hat to droop down. This bird is really special. It even dresses like a human. Vivi found blind spots. Agaga. Alice, the girl in the peaked cap, suddenly widened her beautiful eyes. What's the matter, Alice? Koala asked in confusion. Everyone, this bird can't be eaten. No, he was originally a human, who ate the zone bird fruit in the form of an albatross, the news king of this birdman's dark world, Morgan's. The young girl Alice recognized the identity of the scorched black bird on the ground, and suddenly exclaimed tenderly. What? News King Morgan's. The little girls all looked amazing. What? I can't eat it. The straw hat boy walked away with a dull face. Drink. Just then. Was turned away by the thunder and lightning from Enel, suddenly sat up like a zombie. The beak is wide open. Take a deep breath. A pair of bird eyes still had a look of extreme horror. Don't eat me, I'm human. Morgans blurted out what he had not had time to say before. The people present just stared at Morgans with strange expressions. The atmosphere was a little awkward for a while. Enel's expression changed. Enel, who knew that he had made an oolong, had an angry look on his face. Damn Birdman, how dare you so arrogantly invade the realm of the gods? As the #1 spokesperson of the gods, I will give you the punishment of the gods. Enel's second full opening. The arm that pointed to Morgan's had electric lights flickering. Feel the terrifying aura of destruction. Morgan's was terrified in an instant. The fear of death instantly invaded his whole body. It made him unable to utter a word. Is my life coming to an end? I still don't want to die. I still have big events and big news to report. Morgans cried out in despair. Get back, shock boy. Just when Morgans fell into the abyss of despair, a quiet voice suddenly sounded from the field. The terrifying electric light brewing at Enel's fingertips froze. Yes. The destruction thunder completely subsided with Enel's nod. The shadow of death that haunted Morgan's mind also receded. Woo! Morgans, who jumped on the brink of death, let out a long breath. Good moment. Morgan's terrified heart finally calmed down a little. A pair of bird's eyes flashed across the square. Going clock tower, which was shining infinitely in the sun. I also saw one legend after another sitting in front of the big clock tower. Result, an emotion called shock gradually emerged from his bird face and quickly invaded his whole body. Chapter 269 The extremely shocking Morgan's open black lens bracket 2/5 for subscription close black lens bracket. Get back, shock boy. A quiet voice sounded from the field. Make the action of Enel a lag. The terrifying electric light that has been condensed to the extreme is also gradually converging. The extreme influence of death shrouded in the heart of Birdman Morgan's also receded. Luckily saved a life. Morgan's let out a long sigh of relief. Crazy. What a madman. What the hell is going on with this Thunder Boy? He wanted to stew me in advance, and then he came up to punish me directly. Does he have a brain? It's getting more and more terrifying. Morgan's lowered his head, and started a frantic complaining and scolding mode in his heart. A long time. With the venting of his emotions, Morgan's inner shock was finally calmed down a little. Aggrieved, he sniffed. Morgan's finally looked up. Sun shines on the going clock tower, reflecting a dazzling golden light that is even more dazzling than the sun. In an instant, it caught Morgan's attention. That's the big clock tower made by Going. This is the city of Shandola in Going. The big clock tower of Going is real. Morgan's rounded his bird's eyes and stared at the big clock tower that glowed with infinite going light without blinking. At this moment, his heart was like a turbulent storm. Shock, joy and excitement quickly overwhelmed the fear in his heart. It made him walk out of the shadow of death not long ago. Another moment of silence. Morgan's retracted his gaze on the going clock tower. But soon, his pair of bird eyes, which were already wide enough and round enough, burst out again. The eyeballs seemed to pop out of their sockets. His charred body trembled involuntarily. That's Pluto Rayleigh, Wongquan Janao Brook, and the Roger Pirates Dr. Crocus. Legend. 3 legends appear together. Morgan's heart started shaking and roaring again. Even Rayleigh, the Hades who created the Sabayati incident, is here. What the hell is going on? Morgan's bird face was full of puzzlement and disbelief. Previously. His eyes glanced roughly. The commander of the South Blue operation in the square, and seeing the active Straw Hats, Enel left a deep psychological shadow on him. So he can probably guess. This is probably the South Blue War celebration banquet. In this way, the presence of Huang Luke and Crocus, who also appeared and participated in the South Blue battle, would not be too unexpected for Morgan's. It's just, why is even Hades Rayleigh there? Sabayati's big event. Did Hades Rayleigh who killed Tenryubito always hide in Sky Island? Is Hades Rayleigh related to the owner of Sky Island, or is it just a coincidence that the owner of Sky Island? What does it have to do with the Lord of Watchung in Alabasta? A large number of questions emerged from his mind. Call. Morgan's let out a long breath. It's like squeezing all the air out of your lungs. From waking up to now, Morgan's inner shock never stopped for a moment. Whether it is the going clock tower, or the appearance of the Hades Rayleigh. He was shocked and delighted beyond measure. His mind was so shocked that he couldn't think. Only in this way can he suppress the swelled curiosity in his heart. Guro Guro no mi, rumble rumble fruit, capable person was who had previously sweared. Morgan's new trip to Sky Island this time, by accident, may have touched the core of the series of major events in the sea. That, the Lord of Waisung who made Shichibukai Crocodile willingly surrender. The Lord of Sky Island who relocated the entire Sky Island with unimaginable force. The man behind the series of events that took place on the sea. He is now standing in front of him. How fortunate this is. How unfortunate. Fortunately, he may witness a history today. Witness the 100-year-old event in the sea. Unfortunately, even if he could know the whole story and the source of the big event, he would not have the opportunity to report it and tell the world about this unprecedented big news. After all, the person behind the bloody massacre in Mocktown must not be a good person, since the other party has been hiding behind the scenes for so long. Naturally, I don't want to be exposed to the eyes of the world by him, a newsman. Even if you swear that you will never report it, the other party may not believe it. Don't say it's the other side. Even Morgans himself does not believe that he can keep this big news that can turn the world upside down. I'm so curious, even if this look might kill me, I can only watch it. Morgans murmured softly. A bird's face was full of determination. It seemed like a huge decision had been made. Between life and big news. Morgans struggled long and violently. Finally raised the stiff bird head. This big bird is still alive. What? I thought it was dead. Youth with the vitality straw hat held a branch and poked Morgans's blackened bird face. 4. Straw Hat Luffy's mess. Morgans didn't realize it. At this moment, his bird's-eye gaze gradually came to the stage. He passed a group of young girls with unparalleled looks and unparalleled beauty. In the end, it was fixed on the young man surrounded by the girls. Gah! Morgan's throat subconsciously let out a stiff bird call. The body is also stiff again. How can it be so young? Originally, Morgans had already prepared enough consciousness. Even if the One Piece King of Pirates Roger was resurrected and dominated all this, he had imagined it. However, at this moment, how could it be a youth, a young monster, in his bird's eyes? How did he manage to subdue a big pirate-like crocodile, and how did he make the legends he gathers and becomes his strength, and the face that fights for him is enough to make women addicted to it? Impressive man, but wait. That face. Morgans seemed to have thought of something. I got it. That had been sealed for decades in Morgan's mind rushed out at this moment. You are 36 years ago. Chapter 270 The taboo person in the world. Open black lens bracket 3/5. Please customize full order close black lens bracket. You are disappeared 36 years ago. Marine legend. Finally, Morgan's eyes fell on Roland. After the initial brief astonishment. Immediately after, his bird face came out of extreme shock and disbelief. He recognized Roland's identity. What kind of ordinary youth is this? What kind of young monster, a marine hero who can be called Garp? The boss of Morgan's, with his beak open, stared at the marine hero not far ahead with his wide eyes without blinking. There were waves of turbulent waves in his mind. His thoughts were flying. Countless dusty memories opened at this moment. Turned into a torrent, impacting his spirit and whole body. Looking at the face not far away is still the same as decades ago, everything is the same as the marine legend of yesterday. Morgans felt as if he had returned to his youthful days decades ago. 36 years ago, he was only a 15-year-old newspaper intern reporter. Even if it's just a junior reporter who can't be more junior. Morgans also has a heart for the world. He also yearns and worships heroes and heroes on the sea. Whether it's a pirate or a marine. Because of journalism. Morgans is more expansive than what ordinary people have access to. Decades ago, when the journalism industry was not developed, as a reporter, he could always get the most complete reports on marine incidents. The heroes and heroes of that era, who were active in this sea. The Rocks Pirates, the future One Piece King of Pirates, the Roger Pirates. And Marine's legendary generals who led Marine to fight against the fierce New World monsters. The current hero Garp, the Marshal Sengoku the Buddha, Black Arm, Admiral Zephyr, and that. Another hero who suddenly disappeared from the world and history. Morgans still clearly remembers the shocking war that was enough to change the pattern and direction of the entire world 36 years ago. The ocean overlord Rocks Pirates led all their members to attack an island in the name of God, controlled by the world government. If the Rocks succeed, the world may be turned upside down. About how cruel and fierce the war that happened on the island of God was, no one knows except people who experienced it personally. There is no newspaper that can go to the field to collect materials and report. Because it is the battlefield of monsters. It is impossible for ordinary people to survive there. All people in the world can do is wait. Waiting for Marine to announce the final results. 15-year-old Morgans is also one of the eagerly awaited first-hand intelligence officers. Morgans guarded the phone bug for 3 days and 3 nights. Just when he was about to lose it. The results of the war are published. Rocks, the master of the sea, is defeated. The huge rocks pirates that have been occupying the New World for decades are falling apart. No longer exists. The final winners are Marine's males. After that war, there were 2 people who were widely sung by the people of the world. They are the heroes of Marine. The heroes of the world. The hero Garp and the hero Roland. The names of these 2 Marine heroes spread all over the world in the shortest time. Become a household name. Widely circulated. At the same time, he is also an idol in the hearts of countless young people. At time. In order to meet the idol youth, the crowd who signed up for Marine is endless. Created the highlight period of Marine. However, the good times did not last long. The same year. Only 2 weeks after the Battle of the Isle of God. The hero is gone, totally gone, not just in reality. Is an invisible big hand in the dark, erasing all traces of that person's existence in the world. Morgans, who works at the newspaper, knows. That invisible hand of terror belongs to the world government. He had seen with his own eyes that members of the government's intelligence agents came to their newspaper offices for interviews. Waiting for the person to leave. The president of the newspaper immediately announced the burning of all reports related to the disappearing hero. This behavior once made Morgans very angry. But as a small intern, he was helpless. With the intervention of the big hand of the world government. Just 3 short months before and after. Morgans just never saw any reports of the hero Roland's past deeds. Even people on the streets stopped talking about the big event. Even if someone mentions it occasionally, only Garp will be mentioned. 4. The other person is absolutely silent. As if the hero who saved the world never existed. How could the young and vigorous Morgans accept this ending? He believed that even that big hand could erase and hide everything. Only the memory cannot be erased from people's hearts. In order to arouse people's inner resonance, Morgans secretly published and printed news reports about Roland's past deeds in the middle of the night. Spread the word for free via Newsbird. The result of his actions was to bring disaster to the newspaper. Only by relying on the ability of the bird fruit albatross form, he escaped with difficulty. Colleagues in the raging fire turned to ashes. Morgans was cold all over. For the first time, I understood what the taboos of the world are. It was because of that incident. Later, Morgans, who founded the World Economic News, will set up its headquarters in the sky. The newspaper, fire, incident 36 years ago did not extinguish the passion in Morgan's heart. Instead, it aroused his ambition to find out everything. But this time, he finally learned his lesson. Not as reckless as before. Instead, they gather information secretly and silently. Finally, he found the truth. 36 years ago, half a month after the Battle of the Island of God. In that unattainable holy place. The holy place of Mariajoy, where the world noble Tenryubito gathers, a terrible and unknown event once happened. Morgans tried to report. The results hit the taboo again. He was completely blocked by the World Government Intelligence Organization. Nearly died. Since then, Morgans finally had no choice but to silently bury this huge secret in his heart. Until today. The legend of the past reappears. The lost marine legend once again appeared in front of him alive. Hero Roland. Morgans shouted with all his strength. Chapter 271 News King Works. Rehabilitate Noland. Hero Roland. Morgans, who had been standing for a while like a statue, rolled his Adam's apple. He pulled his throat and shouted with all his strength. The laughter and laughter of the banquet was stagnant. Drinking, eating meat, chatting, and spanking all turned their heads and looked at Morgans. "I don't know this stupid bird. What is going on all of a sudden? Is it really a girl in a capped cap?" Alice, who is really dumbfounded by Enel's thunderbolt and looks weird. "Wait." The girl Alice seemed to realize something. "Hero. Uncle, that bird seems to recognize you." Drunk-eyed Robin leaned halfway on Roland. Leaning close to Roland's ear, his red lips parted lightly, and he whispered softly. The warm breath with a hint of sweet wine blew to the ear, which made one's heart itch. Roland took the glass from Robin's hand. He drank the remaining half-glass of wine without hesitation. "It's almost done drinking here. Don't get drunk again like last time, so many people are watching." Who started to move his feet unconsciously and spoke helplessly. With two blushing robins on her pretty face, she tilted her head cutely. Then he hurriedly retracted his hands and feet. Robin responded politely. "Don't be the same as last time." Last time. Robin clenched his red lips, recalling Roland's words in his mind. "Sure enough, after I was drunk last time, I did something strange." After realizing this possibility, the blush on Robin's face became more and more moving. Rolingo, that stupid bird, is it okay to seem to know you?" Nami asked worriedly. "Mr. Roland, Morgans is one of the kings of the underground dark world. He is known as the News King. He has always been fearless. What I like most is disclose the private information that big men want to hide, or..." Alice, the girl in the peaked cap, narrowed her eyes, with a vicious tone. The girl Alice didn't finish her sentence. Morgans, who had exhausted all his strength before, was so frightened that he retreated again, and finally fell to the ground. Gudong, Morgans swallowed hard. "I just felt a dry mouth." A bird's face has nothing but extreme horror. He wanted to open his mouth to argue, promise. But under so many eyes. His strength can only be said to be average, but he can't even produce the courage to speak. Poof. Seeing the famous News King in the underground world, now so frightened and embarrassed. Girl Alice couldn't help but snorted Isho and made a happy face. The unpleasant experience of the previous meeting with Morgans was subsequently resolved. The News King, Morgans, was actually found here by him. "It's really a lot of trouble, teacher. If you let him go like this, I'm afraid the teacher will survive the next day." He was exposed. Koala Vivi frowned and spoke with concern. "It's okay, don't worry." Roland touched Koala's head with a big hand. Then he walked towards Morgans, who was slumped on the ground. 2 months ago. Roland once promised Robin. 2 months later, when Watchung was completed, it was announced to the world. From now on, let Robin no longer need to live in the shadows. Roland himself will eventually announce his return to the world. Now, 2 months have come. Watchung has also been initially established successfully. All preparations are almost complete. Next, of course, is to announce to the world. These 2 days. Roland had already been thinking about how to maximize the attention of the world. Not just to announce his return. It's more for recruitment. After all, such a big base city. There are only a few thousand of them living there, it is too empty. That's why Luo Lin wanted to hold a world-class event. Attract the strong men from all over the world. Choose from the strong and capable ones to join. So as to strengthen the power of the WA organization. At the same time, Roland also wanted to see it, which remained silent even after the fall of the Enies lobby, could hold its breath until the introduction of this world-class event. Rollins is ready. The strongest devil fruit of the Sea Lord rocks decades ago. Probably the best gimmick. The only question now is how to let the world know naturally. Originally, Roland was going to leave this matter to Shaki and Robin to deal with. But now, since Morgans came to the door, then Luo Lin naturally wouldn't let such a convenient tool man go in vain. Watch the marine legend that keeps getting closer. Morgans stared at him with a pair of bird eyes. The heart paces at an amplitude visible to the naked eye. The whole bird was terrified at once. Rollo, Roland Vice Admiral. Morgans stammered. Forget it, I'm no longer there. Roland opened his mouth with deep eyes. Yes, yes. Morgans nodded heavily. Mr. Roland, you are my idol. Morgans, who had a strong desire to survive, spoke quickly. Oh, really? Roland smiled. Really, more real than real gold. Morgans nodded like a chicken pecking at rice. If that's the case, can I ask you one thing? Yes, of course, let alone one thing, that is. 100 or 1,000 can be, from now on I will be Mr. Luo Lin's bird. Swear by the god of news, I, Morgans, will never reveal what I have seen today, and I will never reveal the existence of Mr. Roland. If I violate my oath, I will never encounter another major incident in my life, and I will never get first-hand information. Morgans knelt down in front of Roland and solemnly swore. Ha ha ha. Seeing Morgans look so solemn, Roland couldn't help laughing. Get up, I want you to do the exact opposite. Roland rode. Exactly, on the contrary. Morgans was stunned. Mr. Roland, what do you mean? Morgans seemed to realize something. Immediately excited again. He got up quickly to ask. But before that, I have another matter to clarify with the help of your newspaper. Roland spoke, interrupting Morgans' questioning. What's the matter? Naturally, it is about the injustice of Mont Blanc Noland, who has been wronged for 400 years in the city of Going, Chandora, and is still reviled by ignorant people. It is time for him to be vindicated. Luo Lin said faintly. Chapter 272 The Going Township That Shook the World Open Black Lens Bracket 5/5 for subscription Close Black Lens Bracket. Mont Blanc Noland, the explorer who suffered 400 years of injustice and was reviled by the world, it is time to vindicate him. Luo Lin opened his mouth faintly, his eyes deep. I want to gather the eyes of the whole world. Nature needs some big events enough to stir the sea. The strongest fruit of the former master of the sea, rocks, is indeed the best gimmick. But the story of Sky Island Going can't be wasted. Especially this Going Big Clock Tower. In addition to using the disappearing Going city of Chandora to build momentum, Roland also has the idea of vindicating Mont Blanc Noland. Although he never met Noland, but he knew the legends he left behind. Have been to the Great Route, and even to the New World. Mont Blanc Noland must be a sea hero in that era 400 years ago. If they could be born together, Luo Lin would naturally be happy to have a drink with him. A sea hero like Noland. In the end, he died so humiliatingly. He even bears the ridicule and scolding of the ignorant world for 400 years. How sad this is. Now that Luo Lin has met, then it must be done. When Roland's calm voice fell, the entire bell tower square was silent at first. Then there was a resounding commotion. That's Sky Island, Shandia people cheering. Luo. Mr. Luo Lin, do you mean that I can report on this Going Township? Morgans, who was just in front of Roland, heard what Roland meant, and a look of excitement flashed across the bird's face. Roland nodded. Quote. Morgans jumped 3 feet in excitement. Happy like a 200-pound child. This time he took a huge risk to reach an altitude of 10,000 meters. The purpose is to find the legendary Going Township Chandola. Spread this shocking news all over the world. A big news that added a lot of color to his life resume. Although there were some twists and turns along the way. Even thought he was going to die. But the final goal was still achieved. And also got the permission of the interview of the former legend. For Morgans, this is simply a great good thing like a pie in the sky. Just when Morgans was excited, Mont Blanc Kulik, an uncle with a chestnut head, staggered forward. Putong, Chestnut-Head Kulik fell to his knees on the ground of the square. Bowed down in the direction of Roland. Mr. Roland, thank you so much. The Chestnut-Head Kulik touched the ground on his forehead and shouted with all his strength. Tears of joy flowed uncontrollably from his eyes. Even though he was a tough guy, he was also a tough guy at the moment, and he couldn't stop crying. Because it's been too long. 400 years is too long. His ancestor, Mont Blanc Noland, was no big liar. Noland is a true hero. Their Mont Blanc family believed in it for generations. Over the past few decades. No, or hundreds of years. Shandola, the town of Going, for generations. Grievances of ancestor Noland. However, to North Blue, to all the world's mocking ancestors, Going Township is real. It has spanned 400 years. This dream was finally fulfilled in his generation. The unjust injustice suffered by ancestor Noland will finally be washed away today. What a delight! Chestnut-Headed Kulik was so happy that he was so excited that he could not stop crying. It wasn't just Kulik who was crying as well. The help of Lackey, the beautiful warrior of Shandia. The 70-year-old old chief of Shandia came tremblingly. The animal head crutch in his hand fell to the ground. In the end, with a face of devotion and gratitude, he slowly knelt down towards Luolin. On the square. War Ghost Weber, Mantis Kamashili, etc. All the people of the Shandia clan follow suit. This time. Rollins didn't stop. Because he knew that the people of Shandia were not the only one who bowed to him this time. And the glory of their Shandia, the great warrior Kalgara 400 years ago. 400 years ago. Gaya Going Township was carried to a height of 10,000 meters by the soaring ocean current. The Shandia family lost their homeland. Lost the Going clock tower that they have guarded for generations. At the same time, he lost his promise with his best friend. And thus created Noland's tragic life. A few months ago, when I heard about Noland's tragic ending from the Chestnut-Head Kulik, the people of Shandia were all sad and angry. A dear friend suffered so injustice. How can the great warrior Kalgara rest in peace in the sky? Not only did they rekindle the fire in Shandora, he can even rehabilitate the best friend of the great warrior. At this moment, the excitement and joy in their hearts is not much less than that of the Chestnut-Head Kulik. Morgan's specific reports and mundanity should be your strengths, and I will let them cooperate with your interview. Roland Road. Yes. Morgans nodded excitedly. But be careful. Mr. Roland, please speak. The piece of history at the base of the Great Bell Tower. Historical text. A look of shock appeared on Morgan's face again. After being shocked, he reacted immediately. Mr. Roland, please rest assured, I will never incorporate historical inscriptions into the camera. Morgan's clapboard guarantee. No. Roland shook his head. Why not just show the world a few words? ... Going Bell Tower Square. The lively banquet continued. But this time, there was one more figure running around. Morgans, who got the interview license, ran around happily. Of the entire spectacular Going city of Shandora. Make several detailed reports on this Going township that has disappeared for 400 years. Except the scenic spots of Going Township, especially the photos of the Going Bell Tower. Noland's descendant, Kulik, and the people of the Shandia family are also the key interviewees of Morgans. For the interview with Morgans, the people of Chestnut-Head Kulik and Shandia naturally know everything and say everything. A full day. Morgans did his own work and completed a large number of material collections. Call. Morgans shook the sweat from his head. Looks like something is missing. Morgans muttered to himself. That's right. He realized the flaw. Everyone present, is anyone from North Blue? Morgans shouted at the top of his voice. The people at the banquet were stunned. I'm from North Blue. After a while, Sanji, who had been squatting in the corner for a whole day, raised his hand weakly. Alas. Sanji, you are from North Blue. Aren't you East Blue with curly eyebrows? Luffy, Zoro and others all looked surprised. I never said that I was born in East Blue. My hometown is indeed North Blue. I have also heard the story of Mont Blanc Noland. If I can help, I will be happy. Sanji cleared his mind and said. Really? Your Excellency Sanji, thank you. The people of Chestnut Head Kulik and Shandia immediately shouted with joy. Among them are the young girls of Sandia. Listen to the thanks from the girls. Sanji's eyes instantly turned into heart shapes, and he regained his vitality in an instant. Hoo ho ho, everything is ready now. Morgans laughed. After half an hour. The interview with Morgans is complete. Of spreading its wings, the albatross returned to the headquarters of the hot air balloon newspaper office waiting on the outskirts of the island with a large amount of material. After a busy night. About Shandola, the township of Going, quickly spread all over the world with the news bird. The world is shaken. Chapter 273 Kaya is excited. Makino is shy open black lens bracket 1/4 for subscription close black lens bracket. The sun rises in the east and sets in the west. There is a bright moon hanging in the sky. The 10,000-meter high sky shines like daytime. Ha 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 ha. In front of the huge disk bright moon, a big bird in a suit and tie flew by. President, the president is back. President Morgans is back. Hear the familiar laughter in the sky. In the huge hot air balloon suspended in the bye-bye sea, there was a burst of cheers. President, what happened to you on that island? As the legendary Going City Shandora reel in Going Township. President, have you seen the Going Clock Tower? ... The members of the World Economic News newspaper were chattering and asking eagerly and excitedly. Today's Going Township exploration action. They should have acted together with the whole newspaper. I never wanted to wait for them to adapt to the oxygen-deficient environment at an altitude of 10,000 meters and prepare to set off for that Jaya Island. However, he received an order from Morgans to stand still. This wait is a whole day. Newspaper reporters suppressed their curiosity and waited for so long. After finally waiting for Morgans to return, he naturally couldn't hold back his inner curiosity. Yo hoo hoo hoo. The Morgans bird has a mysterious smile on its face. His gaze swept across the members of the staff. The curvature of the corners of the mouth gradually widens. Dozens and hundreds of professionally and carefully photographed photos of Walala flew into the air with Morgans' wave. The rustling fell. Newspaper reporters subconsciously took a few photos. Wait until you see what the photo scene looks like. The reporters' faces showed extreme shock and joy. This is the legendary Going Township. Going Township is real. That Noland is not a big liar. Sorry Noland, I laughed at you when I was a kid. This is the Going Clock Tower. How solemn and sacred this is. ... The members of the World Economic News broke out and shouted. Ha 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 ha, little ones, there is no time for you to waste, now, immediately. Immediately move Lao Su, tomorrow. Tomorrow Lao Su will let the story of Going Township spread all over the world. Morgans ordered loudly. Yes, President Morgans. The professional reporters of the newspapers are all excited and shouting for a drink. The huge moon in the sky is gradually sinking. A touch of fish maw white appeared in the eastern sky. Light up the whole world. Full horsepower. Active and busy all night, was filled with satisfied laughter. Countless news birds, carrying one after another of the newly released newspapers, flew away in all directions. Going Township, which has been silent for 400 years, to the world. So, the whole world is shaken. Alabasta Kingdom of St. Tin Island. As the real headquarters of the World Economic News in the future. This is naturally the first area to get the news. Early morning. When the sun rises with melodious bells. People in Alabasta also saw newspapers falling from the sky. What? The legendary Going Township Shandola is now on top of our Alabasta. What? The Beautiful bell we heard was from the going clock tower. I thought it was God singing. Going Shangri-La. And Noland, Mont Blanc, I saw this story when I was a kid. The legendary Going Township turned out to be real. Sorry, Noland. ... All over the kingdom of Alabasta, countless people screamed in shock at this moment. Countless people fell to the ground reverently at this moment. Thank you, God, for all this. On the great route, not far from Santin Island, is the kingdom of cherry blossoms. Kurha, Miss Kaya, here and again. News from Alabasta. Still dressed in plain green clothes and had no kingly airs at all, shouted in shock. What are you arguing about in the early morning? You are a king now, how much? You should also pay attention to your image. Kurha, known as the witch, shouted in dissatisfaction. Uncle Dalton, let me see. Let me see. The fair-skinned Kaya blushed excitedly and took the newspaper from Dalton. Going Shangshandora. I read this story in a book before. It turns out that what Nolan said is true. Going Shangshandora really exists. Kaya murmured in shock. Wow, Dr. Dolly look, there are islands at a height of 10,000 meters, and the people in these photos, they all have wings behind them. Are they angels? Pet Chopper widened his eyes and shouted in shock. Gudong gudong. Kurha raised her head and drank half a bottle of wine, humming comfortably. The distance between Gaia and Shengting is not too close. To transfer such a large area, you won't find some incredible helpers. Kurha whispered to herself. Teacher, Nami and the others contacted them a few days ago. Brother Luo's city has been built. I want to go and see. Kaya looked at Kurha with a hopeful expression on her face. Dr. Dolly I am also me. Chopper nodded again and again. The atmosphere in the house was stagnant. After a while. Ha ha ha, why not? I just want to hear the sound of the going clock tower described in the news. How wonderful are the idiots, ready to set sail. Kurha laughed. Yeah. Excellent. Chopper and Kaya jumped 3 feet high with joy. East Blue. Sea Restaurant Bharati. Everyone, take a look at the big news that just came out today. On the huge Fishmouth restaurant boat, the ruffian chef Paddy, like a Popeye, waved the newspaper in his hand and shouted excitedly. For a time, the chefs of the restaurant came together one after another, waiting to see what's on the news. The entire sea restaurant is plunged into a shocking ocean. Ha ha ha, as expected of Mr. Roland. Chef Redfoot Zeph laughed out loud. Little ones, get ready, I will take you to see the Going Bell Tower. ... Kokoyasi Village. Sailboats with flags of sea waves are docked in the village port. Mr. Ajien, hurry up, get ready to go. Blue hair and a hot body urged impatiently. Nojiko, the special products given to Mr. Roland haven't been shipped yet. Don't worry, Nami is right there. I'll see you soon. The windmill sheriff Ajien, who was full of hideous scars, smiled helplessly. East Blue Shimotsuki Village. A medium-sized sailboat slowly sailed out of the port, carrying a group of energetic young swordsmen to the direction of the Great Route. Zoro, you really got stronger. Bo. Kushiro, the great swordsman dressed in gentle, rolled up his sleeves, smiled and whispered to himself. East Blue Windmill Village. Hurry up, village chief, hurry up, Miss Dayton and the others are already waiting on the boat. 1. The green-haired girl Makino pulled the slow village chief Slap and kept urging. Village chief Slap looked unhappy. Really, Makino, I don't know what you're doing in such a hurry. Of course I want to see Sabo and Luffy. Makino said of course. Sabo and Luffy, I think you want to meet that guy. The village chief Slap blew his beard and stared. That's not it. Girl Makino's fair and pretty face flew up to a red cloud, shyly stomped her feet, covered her face and ran away. Chapter 274 Reiju, Joy. Garp, little temper open black lens bracket 2/4 for order close black lens bracket. Dang, Dang, the melodious going bells floated over the great root of Alabasta, and quickly swept across the sea with the wind. East, south, west and north 4 sea areas. It is even a new world where the 4 emperors divide the notices. Going bells, ring, all over the sea. North blue. As the birthplace of the story of the Noland King of Mont Blanc. 2. That, going bell, was especially huge. When that part of the World Economic Journal had a news report that reached North Blue. The whole North Blue is boiling for it. Hey, true or false, is this really the Going Township in the story of the Great Talker? Impossible. Going Township or something is a deceptive thing. How can it really exist? It's not like the stories we saw when we were kids. Isn't the big talker Noland a liar? Everything he said is true. The legendary Going Township Shandola is real. It didn't sink into the sea, but went to the sky. ... Similar conversations occurred frequently and were staged all over North Blue. Much the same. Without exception, there was only the extreme shock. 400 years ago, under the hype of the greedy king of the Lubnir Kingdom. The hilarious story of the big talker Noland spread all over North Blue and became a household name. It has always been a model for adults to teach children not to lie. However now, the story, once seen as a joke, was turned upside down. Complete reversal. Going Shangdora is real. On the newspaper page, the roaring photo of Noland's descendants, the chestnut-head Kulik is vividly remembered. People seem to be able to hear Kulik's hoarse voice for the ordinary cry of his ancestors. A turbulent sea in the North Blue. Huge sea snails carry islands and castles, drifting aimlessly on the sea. This is the Kingdom of Science, Germa 66. The Kingdom of Germa is the name of a unique maritime country with no fixed territory in the world. Usually, dozens of ships operate separately, and together they form a kingdom. Almost all of the citizens are men and soldiers at the same time, forming the army Germa 66 that makes countless people terrified. Hence the House of War, the Army of Evil, etc. Aliases. Standing at the apex of Germa's reign is the Vinsmoke family. At this moment, a huge city in the middle of the Kingdom of Germa. The 3 Vinsmoke news reporters in Going Township who wore red, blue, and green slaying mad looks with inexplicable surprise on their faces. Going Shangla in Noland's story turned out to be real. The 4th son of the Vinsmoke family, I don't think so, maybe it's the fake news that the old bird of Morgan's created by himself. You can't see any going in this city of going. The 2nd son of the Vinsmoke family, the blue-haired Niji sneered. But this going clock tower can't be faked. Sparks read. Vinsmoke IG looked at the huge going clock tower, his face flashed with shock and greed. Such a large going clock tower. Just a priceless treasure, if you can get your hands. Just when all the killers are attracted by the magnificent going clock tower. The main hall, Germa's only princess, with her head. Vinsmoke Reiju, a tall and slender beauty with long pink hair, she couldn't help Vivi trembling at this moment. White slender hands unconsciously covered red lips. Reiju was suppressing the joy and excitement that was on the verge of overflowing. It's great that you're still alive, Sanji. Reiju stared at the curly-haired youth in the exclusive interview area in the corner of the newspaper. Tears-called joy overflowed her eyes uncontrollably. Marine Headquarters, Marineford. Marine Headquarters, which had been depressed for a few days due to Zephyr and the retirement of a group of veterans, gradually returned to its previous state. Especially when the news of Going Township Shandola spreads. The entire Marine Headquarters was also revived and boiled. The sailors discussed this shocking big news intensely one after another. Even the marshal's office is no exception. Going Shangdora, what does that guy want to do this time? Marshal Sengoku put his hand on his forehead, feeling a bit of a headache. What are you doing, Sengoku? You're really too sensitive right now. Maybe that guy this time is. He wants to pacify that Noland, who has been infamous for 400 years. You know, he is the person who can't see injustice the most. Garp performed the unique trick of picking booger with one hand while eating senbei. I know this, but I am still a little uneasy. I feel that there will be other big events over there in the future, which may break the current pattern of the sea. Sengoku frowned, a look of unease on his face. Ha ha ha, how can it be so exaggerated, Sengoku? Garp laughed. Marshal Sengoku. Speaking of which, Garp, do you really want to go and see? Tsuru will be leaving soon, and I can give you special permission to accompany you. Sengoku rode. No go no go. Garp waved his hand decisively. That guy has avoided me so many times, but I have a temper, and I have to hang him. Garp waved his fist angrily. As you like. Sengoku didn't hold on any longer. Marine headquarters is directly above the Red Soil continent. Holy Land, Mariajoy. 5 old people representing the highest power in the world on the bright side, Joe, gathered at one time. What the hell is that bastard trying to do this time? Gaia-going Township, which disappeared 400 years ago, has reappeared in the world. The Shandia family in the city of Going seems to be inextricably linked with history. According to the information we have collected, the history guarded by the Sandia natives is related to ancient weapons. When the words of Lao Xing, the sword-holding warrior, fell, the whole place fell into silence. That bastard, is he trying to provoke us again? He deliberately exposed this little historical inscription. The blonde and golden-bearded old star pointed to the Going Big Clock Tower on the news. The main body of the photo is the Big Bell Tower, but there are a few ancient characters in the bottom corner. Although the Gorosei 5 elders cannot understand it, they can be sure. At the base of the Going Bell Tower, there must be a historical article pointing to ancient weapons. What should I do to send someone to take it over? An old star asked. The atmosphere in the hall became stagnant again. Be patient, you have endured for so long, and it's not too short of a while. Another spoke up. However, if you can get the historical text of ancient weapons, it would be great. The 5 people over there should already be in Alabasta. Chapter 275 The Shock of the Big Mom Pirates 3/4. The second half of the Great Route, the New World. This is the stage where monsters compete. The sea is treacherous. No one could have predicted what bizarre twists and turns would come next. Especially recently. The undercurrent of this sea of demons is getting more and more turbulent. Almost everywhere in the New World. One can be spared whether it is an ordinary commoner or an aloof sea emperor. New World, all nations, Totland. The base camp of the 4 emperors Lot Linlin. Past, there was a lot of laughter, and the Cake Island was very lively. At this moment, he was caught in an unusually condensed atmosphere. Were given life by the 4th emperor Lot Linlin died at this moment and stopped singing. There seemed to be a terrifying aura that permeated out. Everyone on the island of Ling is in extreme depression. It was as if a heavy rock was weighing on my heart. There is only one reason for all this. That was the 4 emperors Lot Linlin was angry. The huge cake castle in the center of Cake Island. The spacious Parliament Hall has an unusually heavy atmosphere. The air seemed to freeze. At this moment, in this spacious hall, almost all the main cadres and ministers of the 4 emperor thieves gathered together. The left, there is the first of the 4 generals with a bounty of over 1 billion, the highest masterpiece of the Charlotte family, Katakuri. The long-legged row 4 generals Smoothie, the biscuit minister General Cracker and the General Shane Snag. The right side of the main hall, the ministers and officials headed by Charlotte's eldest son, Perospero, were lined up in order. Oven, who is known as the Little Akainu, has the power of hot fruit, and Daifuku, who has the power of transpiring fruit of the magic lamp, etc. Almost everything in The Thief was said and everyone was present. But these, the important ministers and generals in the pirate group, at this moment, no one has spoken. Even Katakuri didn't say a word at the moment, his expression was extremely solemn. Ah! I don't know how long ago. In the silent hall, there was a sudden scream like a slaughtering pig. From outsiders kneeling in the hall. Under the shock of the terrifying momentum of the Emperor of the Sea. In the outside world, the mighty king of loan sharks, Luffield, shows his ugliness. The other three dark kings in the room. Of Ocean King, Deep Ocean Current Umit, Hidden Master Kipson and Funeral Club boss Dragu Piedro are not much better than Luffield. Under the wrath of the Sea Emperor. Even these, dark kings, are only shivering. As the king of the underground dark world. Luffield and others can be said to control the lifeblood of many regions and countries. Calling the wind and calling the rain, it is omnipotent. All this they operate as an important premise. That is the support from the Emperor of the Sea. The reason why Luffield and the others are able to do whatever they want in the New World. The main reason is because of the support of the four emperors. They have the strongest Emperor of the Sea as their most powerful backing. On the surface, they are the masters of the underworld. However, in reality, this new world is still the world of the four emperors. These, the Dark King and the Sea Emperor have a cooperative relationship on the surface. In fact, it is an affiliation. By paying the protection fee, they obtain the protection of the four emperors as their capital for their rampage. But when something goes wrong, what greeted them was the anger from the Emperor of the Sea. Just like this time. East Blue, South Blue, even the first half of the Great Root. One half of the world is subject to upheaval. The dark world of the underground is simply unimaginable. Even if Luffield and the others can hide it for a while. How can you hide it for the rest of your life? It will eventually be revealed. No, listen to us, it's all that crocodile's fault. Luffield, the king of loan sharks, shouted in fear. East Blue, South Blue, we're all invaded by that Shichibukai crocodile, we have done our best. The occultist Kipson was horrified. Puro, if you really tried your best, how could you lose? How could you lose East Blue and South Blue in succession? It's just a mere Shichibukai. Charlotte's eldest son, Perospero, said disdainfully. Brother Peros is right, but it's just a mere crocodile, and it's a joke that his team of stinky fish and rotten shrimp can defeat your alliance. It must be your negligence that allowed that sand crocodile to take advantage of it. Oven and Daifuku echo the Tao. No, it's not just crocodile. The legend of the Battle of South Blue appeared. The swordsman of the One Piece, king of pirates Roger Pirates, and another legend appeared. Drago Piedro exclaimed. What did you say? Wangquan Janao Brook. The officials of the four emperors in the hall shouted in shock. It's not just that Huangquan Janao, but also the terrifying Guro no Mi, Rumble Fruit capable person. Later, even giants appeared. Even the clowns were completely defeated this time. Hidden Master Kipson shouted. Giant. The tall queen on the throne, the four emperors. Charlotte Linlin moved her ears. You said the giants also joined the war. Yes. Facing the extreme pressure of the four emperors. Luffield and the others all nodded in fear. Once again, with a grudge against the giant. There was a hint of grievance and a hint of crying in Charlotte Linlin's voice, like a helpless child. But only for a moment. The terrifying evil haki swept the audience. It's all because of you, it's all your fault. When Charlotte Linlin's question fell, Luffield and the others fell into extreme fear. Even the soul leaves the body at this time. Then, Charlotte Linlin mercilessly extracted his lifespan, and so far fell into a coma. However, all the generals, cadres, and even Lot Linlin himself were shocked that this time the Sea King Umit survived. His soul didn't even leave the body. What the hell is going on? Why didn't Umit have his life drawn by his mother? Isn't he afraid of mother at all? Absolutely impossible. The officials and ministers of the Charlotte family shouted in shock. under the collective oppression of Charlotte Linlin and a group of powerful cadres from the four emperors. The lost soul of the Sea King, Umit, shuddered and came back to his senses. Immediately, a look of extreme fear appeared on his face. However, it wasn't because of the four emperors in front of him. Don't. Demons. The other party is a demon. Chapter 276 The reaction and trend of the four emperors. Open black lens bracket 4/4 for subscription. Close black lens bracket. Don't. Demons. Don't come here, demons. The Sea King Umit, whose face was extremely pale, let out a mad cry. From being called by the four emperors to the present. No. At an earlier time. Umit, the famous Sea King in the Dark World, has already lost his soul. Like Walking Dead. The whole person is immersed in his own world and cannot extricate himself from it. This is also the source of his previous ability to be immune to Charlotte Linlin's soul fruit. Because I didn't pay attention to the four terrifying emperors in front of me. Of course there is no such thing as fear. Umit, what are you talking about? Four emperors. Charlotte Linlin's voice was low. Demon, the other party. The one who destroyed my base is a real demon. It will die. Umit let out a dazed scream. Bastard Umit, what are you talking about? What devil is crazy? I think this guy is really crazy. It doesn't matter. Who is the other party, who has provoked us thieves? There will only be one death sentence in the end. We are the thieves of the four emperors. Even if it is a legend, there is only one way to go against us. And ministers of the Charlotte family in the cake hall scolded them sharply. Boom, the powerful hockey erupts. The out-of-control mad Umit instantly fell into a coma. Mom. Just then. A lion wearing black sunglasses ran anxiously into the hall. Bakermas, what are you doing in here? Sparrow was displeased. Those here today are all blood relatives. Although the lion fur Baker Moose is also the main cadre, it is not eligible to enter. Mom, everyone, that sand crocodile, there's big news over there in Alabasta. Beckmith screamed in shock. At the same time, he distributed the whole stack of newspapers in his hand to everyone in the hall. This is the legendary Going Township Shandola. Going City Shandora is actually real. And this giant Going Clock Tower, it's just a priceless treasure. It's such a waste for such a precious Going Clock Tower to be owned by that guy from Crocodile. Ha ha ha, just so, look for that. When the sand crocodile settles accounts, let's take this big bell tower into your command. And ministers in the cake hall shouted excitedly. Mom, look at this corner. These words seem to be historical texts. There is also a historical text at the base of the Going Clock Tower. Long-legged paddling water and juicing Jijong Star Smoothie, sharp-eyed photo corner of the historical article, could not help but exclaimed in shock. Historical article, and going big. For Emperor Lot Linlin's eyes gradually lit up. Well, today is finally a good news. Whether it's a historical article or the Going Bell Tower, they will all become my collections. The four emperors. Charlotte Linlin laughed. New World, Wanokuni, Onigashima. Base camp of the four emperors. Kaido of the Beasts. Same as Cake Island. This Onigashima had just played a punishment game not long ago. The king of loan sharks, Luffield and other dark kings rely on the four emperors and four emperors, Kaido of the Beasts, who are naturally the arms dealers in the underground world. After arbitrarily punishing a badly done arms agent. The four emperors. Kaido of the Beasts are in a state of alcoholism again. No more to bother with those troubles. Kaido's rebellious son, who manages these matters in place of Kaido of the Beasts. Second and third commander of the Beasts, the Queen of Flame, Calamity and Plague. Brother Jin, this Going Big Clock Tower looks very good. The Plague Queen's eyes shone brightly. Indeed. Flame Calamity, surrounded by inexplicable flames, nodded. His eyes fell on the ancient text in the corner of the photo, and the face under the mask became more and more moving. Big brother, second brother, leave the task of capturing the going bell tower to me. Drought Jack confidently patted the bear's breast and assured. I just contacted the clown. This time he suffered a heavy loss, and he wants revenge at all costs. This time is a great opportunity to take 3 points and 3 profits from him. Han Han Drought Jack, who has never been afraid of the sky and the earth, laughed loudly. Yan Calamity and Epidemic Queen glanced at Drought Jack and nodded their approval. New World, Blue Sky Island. The Four Emperors Whitebeard Territory. Huge whale ship, deck of the USS Moby Dick. The squad leaders of the Whitebeard pirates also had a heated discussion because of today's big news from Going Township. The scene was lively. There was a constant uproar of shock on the deck. Dad, what do you think of this going clock tower? It looks really good. Marco sat down beside the Four Emperors Whitebeard. Kala la la la, Marco, it's rare that you are also tempted. Whitebeard laughed. No, I just want to hear whether the bell of the going bell is really as wonderful as that stupid bird of Morgan's. It's just as wonderful as it's described, and by the way, I'll find Ace. Marco scratched the pineapple head embarrassedly. If you want to see it, it's fine to go and have a look. This time it's really going to be lively, but don't go too deep, it's enough to be a spectator. Whitebeard spoke. When most of the people in the world are concerned and covet the existence of Going Township and Going Bell. However, Whitebeard noticed a point that Morgans could downplay and ignore. Bastard Shaki, after thinking about it, only your fluffy fruit ability can do this. Even you bastard has fallen, that guy is still as scary as ever. Whitebeard muttered to himself. An isolated island in the red-haired territory of the Four Emperors of the New World. That lasted for an unknown number of days is still going on today. Little ones, come and come, toast to Going Township and Going Big Bell Tower. The drunken red-haired Four Emperors made another random excuse and started toasting. Oh! All the cadres and members of the red-haired pirates responded in unison. Aside. Mahawk, the world's greatest swordsman, showed a look of disgust on his face and stood up straight. He was forcibly dragged by the red hair of the Four Emperors and held a banquet for more than 10 days. 4. Hawkeye, who likes to be quiet, this is nothing short of torture. This is one of the reasons why he is reluctant to join the redhead. Wait. Seeing that Hawkeye was about to leave, the redhead hurriedly grabbed the corner of his shirt. Don't go yet, Mahawk, play for 2 more days, I'll let Yasop and Readaloud go with you to see the fun. ... Chapter 277 Zephyr, you are the worst I have ever brought. 1/4. The calm sea makes waves. Undercurrents are surging. Since the establishment of the Four Emperors in the New World 4 years ago, the sea had not been so turbulent in a long time. With the brewing of the Shangri-La incident in Going Township, all eyes of the world are gathered in Alabasta, gathered in Waysung. The little pirates of paradise, the big pirates of the New World, Shichibukai and even the Four Emperors, and even the world government. Countless people on the sea are eager to move for the legendary Going Clock Tower. The world is gathering in Watchung. At this moment, Alabasta Waysung Fortress in the center of all events, all undercurrents. It still looks peaceful. No tension at all. For the coming storm, the people in the city seemed unaware. Or rather, don't care at all. When, early morning. The sun is fine. The breeze is not dry. The melodious and wonderful going bell rang on time and punctually from an altitude of 10,000 meters, echoing in the sky. The lingering sound is lingering for a long time. Under the influence of the beautiful going bell, people's tense spirits relax unconsciously. The tense muscles also relax. Idiots! The coast of Waysung, an angry shout suddenly sounded. That's the devil, Instructor Zephyr raging. It's not enough after practicing for a while, are you so embarrassed to call yourself a battle-hardened fighter? You just won a small South Blue battle, are you complacent? Look at how lazy you are now. You have no discipline at all. Even if you survived by luck last time, next time, half-hearted people like you will definitely die in the war. You guys are the worst class of students I've ever brought. Zephyr's harsh reprimands echoed over the shore. Hear Zephyr's majestic shout. No discipline on the coast, and people who sat and rested casually stood upright in horror. Even Sabo, who was in charge of leading the team, was no exception. Even if he was the commander-in-chief of Operation South Blue. Here at the moment. Front of Waisung's chief instructor Zephyr, he is still a student. 4. Harsh teachings from Zephyr. Sabo didn't complain at all. Because he knows. The harshness at the moment will give them a chance to survive in the cruel war in the future. Operation South Blue returns in victory. Sabo's reward is now the 3,000 warriors behind him. After 2 months of war running in. Of the surviving fighters of the Maritime Work Club has been improved by several grades. It is still far from a real elite special team. The reason is also obvious. Each of these 3,000 warriors was born in the wild from all over the world. Never experienced orthodox military training. Even after the war, their consciousness has changed dramatically. But discipline, style, and some daily habits are not easy to change. It's like long-distance endurance training now. They all gathered together, slumped and relaxed, and the scene was chaotic. Other side, Ain, Bins, etc. Brought out by Zephyr, the warriors of the pirate guerrilla are still orderly, no one is left behind to relax, and the discipline is strict. Alabasta King's army, led by the deputy captain of the guard, Bell, who took a break from class, showed much better discipline than the bastards under him. 3-phase comparison. Judgment. Sabo wasn't upset about it, though. He believed under the stern teaching of former Marine Admiral, Chief Instructor Zephyr. Leave time. The group of people under his command will inevitably change. Be a great help to your mentor. Everyone, go ahead. Sabo clenched his fists and shouted loudly. Yes, Captain Sabo. Everyone shouted in unison to drink the coast, and the training for the basic physical fitness and endurance of the human body continued. Zephyr stared at the 3,000 warriors who cheered up under Sabo's leadership. An old face still maintains the absolute majesty of instructor. However, he nodded his head in recognition. Although this class of students is generally poor. But there are a lot of bright spots. Sabo, for example, and young people who are now doing advanced hockey practice elsewhere. That grandson of Garp, since it's in my hands, you can honestly be the king of Marine from now on. Zephyr whispered confidently. Stepping on the moon step, he soared into the sky and headed straight for another training place in Waisung. 3 minutes later. Zephyr came to the vicinity of Waisung Yanwuchang. Don't wait for him to get close to landing. Far. Noisy and uproar, accompanied by a burst of laughter, entered Zephyr's ears. What are you doing? Are you practicing or playing tricks? I thought that the elite training camp here is much better than those on the coast. I never thought it would be such a scene. There's no such thing as a hard practice. The 7 orifices of the always strict instructor Zephyr's anger seemed to be smoking. Bastard, what the hell are you doing? Zephyr's irritable shout echoed over the martial arts arena. Hear the anger in that voice. The laughter on the martial arts field was stagnant. Everyone raised their heads in unison, until they saw the Zephyr smoking above his head in the sky. The veterans who were appointed by Zephyr as supervising teachers all widened their eyes and looked embarrassed. Zoro, Sanji, Lucio, Fish, Man Nobel and other young potential descendants are subconsciously standing upright. Even Crocodile, who was completely integrated into it, changed from a lone wolf to a two-ha-ha, the smile on his face gradually disappeared. Only the Vitality Straw Hat Luffy and the Shemale Xiaofeng still held hands and danced a cheerful circle dance. 4. Zephyr's anger. He didn't feel anything. You two are the worst students I've ever brought. Boom, and boom, accompanied by Zephyr's angry shouts, and the Straw Hat Luffy and the Shemale Bentham punched one by one, and were knocked into the clouds from a distance. They are still doing what they are doing, the rest time has passed, and the training begins. The veterans, who were also enjoying it, raised their faces, and scolded them, pretending to be serious. Zephyr, don't be so anxious to get angry, practice is practice, proper entertainment is still essential. Roland came over, patted Zephyr's shoulder, and persuaded him. You have the nerve to say it. Zephyr gave Roland a sidelong glance. Without your nod, Alfred, they'd be so slack. Cough cough. Roland coughed awkwardly. It's rare for everyone to see each other alive. Of course, it's better to laugh at Isho than to keep a straight face. Stop talking about this, Zephyr, with your years of teaching experience, do you have any quick, not so hard ways to practice hockey, share and share? Roland laughed. Chapter 278 9 Snakes Hockey Practice Method Open black lens bracket 2/4 order close black lens bracket. Zephyr, based on your years of teaching experience, have you found any quick fixes for hockey? Roland asked with a smile. Hockey's quick way. Zephyr pushed on his sunglasses and squinted at Roland again. Why are you asking this? In the field of hockey, you should be considered one of the strongest in the world, and I can't compare to you, and I remember that the speed of your practice of three-color hockey was a pervert. In terms of hockey quick success, you should be more experienced. Zephyr opened. Ha ha. Roland smiled. My hockey acquisition method, the average person. Or in other words, no one in this world has the ability to copy it. Roland said with emotion. Generally speaking, quick things are better than accumulation little by little. But there are exceptions. Like Roland's. Relying on the feedback function of the system plugin. As long as Roland keeps fighting with the strong and learning from them, he can continue to become stronger. Decades ago, Rollins only spent a few short months. From a rookie who doesn't know how to hockey, to a master of three-color hockey, the entire Marine headquarters is shaken. Of hockey's practice, he broke all the records in the world. Past, and there will be no one behind. Why Zephyr is surprised that Roland asked him about the hockey quick way. Zephyr, seriously, is there any? Roland continued to question. You mean to? Zephyr glanced at the group of cute little girls in the distance. Finally understood why Roland wanted the hockey crash method. No. Zephyr rebuffed decisively and sternly. Really not. If you want to gain powerful strength, of course, you must rely on your own efforts, accumulate experience with blood and sweat, and want to become stronger without doing anything. How can such a good thing happen in the sky? Zephyr rolled his eyes at Roland again. Alas. Roland shook his head and sighed. It's fine if you don't know, then I'll wait for the reply from 9 Snakes. Roland rode. 9 Snakes. Zephyr frowned. Is there a problem? Roland smiled back. The nation of 9 Snakes, a world-famous female fighting nation, almost all female fighters in the country will have hockey. Zephyr raised his eyebrows as he recalled the information about the 9 Snakes. Soldiers of a country. Especially the daughter country, almost popular. This seemed a little scary. Even a new world with monsters like clouds. But there are still many people who can't learn hockey. After Roland's reminder, Zephyr also responded. Maybe in that 9 Snakes girl country, there really is a secret practice method that can quickly become hockey. Bastard, don't you already know where to find the hockey practice method suitable for those little girls? Why are you asking me? Zephyr rode. Isn't it because you have rich teaching experience in Zephyr, and maybe you have a similar method of practice? The comprehensive improvement of the two aspects will be more perfect. It will be a big help if you promote it in the future. Roland rode. You guys are really, but it's probably not an easy thing to get the hockey training method of the 9 Snakes. Zephyr reminded. If the current emperor of the 9 snakes is still the same Jasmine, who was decades ago, maybe he can be deceived by you, but... Zephyr paused, but did not continue. The current 9 snake emperor is one of the Shichibukai under the king, the pirate empress Boa Hancock. That little girl is not a simple character. Jasmine and pirate queen Boa Hancock. Roland's eyes were deep. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. Don't worry, she will agree. ... Maiden Island, Amazon Lily. The windless zone between the park and South Blue. As the name suggests, this is an island where only women live. The island has a centuries-old man ban. The absolute norm of the man. Once a man enters this place, the end is to be wiped out. In fact, for hundreds of years, few outsiders have dared to invade this daughter country. Even if I know that my daughter is full of beautiful beauties in the country, pirates have always respected it. There are many reasons for this. On the one hand, the strength of the fighting nation 9 Snakes is indeed deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. Even if the island is full of women. But it's a man-handed hockey, and his fighting power is not trivial. Especially the 9 Snake Emperor of this generation. Pirate Queen Boa Hancock is also one of the Shichibukai under the king. The name of Shichibukai alone is enough to scare away the pirates in paradise. Except the powerful combat power of the members of the 9 Snakes. Another important reason that has supported the 9 Snake naughty country for hundreds of years and no one has invaded is its geographical location. A daughter country in the depths of the windless belt. A few pirates dared to invade. I am afraid that before the pirates approach Maiden Island, they will become the rations of the Sea Kings in the windless zone. The dangerous windless belt is the strongest barrier on this Maiden Island. Protect the island from foreign invasion. A few months ago, king of the country, Boa Hancock of the 9 Snakes returns from his expedition. Bring back a lot of treasure and goods for the country. At the same time, it brought endless joy to the people. Because their emperor is so perfect. Today's Maiden Island of the 9 Snakes is as calm and peaceful as ever. The protector of the daughter country, Margaret, a girl with blonde hair, completes the handover task with her partner Stoby, and climbs the city wall. A moment. Margaret, the protector of the country who was watching all directions on the city wall, suddenly became alert. Her observation hockey sensed the intruder breath from the air. Shoo, as almost an instant kung fu. The green snake on Margaret's body turned into a bow. The quiver at the waist, flied, an arrow, which was placed on the snake bow. The pitch-black armament hockey quickly wrapped around the tip of the arrow, aiming at the intruder in the air, ready to launch at any time. However, just as the blonde girl Margaret's eyes fell on the intruder in the air, the girl was stunned to discover that the intruder who broke into her observation hockey's perception was actually a vulture. On the back of the vulture stood a sea otter wearing sunglasses. What a strange combination. I haven't seen it before. Margaret, a beautiful girl, couldn't help but give birth to a big question mark. Chapter 279 It was him. What a shock, Grandma. Open black lens bracket 3/4 close black lens bracket. Windless belt, Maiden Island, 9 Snakes. A robust female bald eagle wearing sunglasses, carrying a sea otter also wearing sunglasses, traverses thousands of mountains and rivers. Pass through the windless zone where even news birds dare not set foot. Finally arrived in this country where only women live. Just when the bald eagle was about to leap over the towering city wall and head straight for the center of the country. Wrapped around the mighty armament hockey locked it. Even if it's just a vulture. But as the former Baroque Works intelligence officer, Vulture Friday's danger perception is not weak at all. Under the threat of armament's arrows, the bald eagle flickered on Friday. He hurriedly landed on the edge of the city wall. Back of the bald eagle, another member of the unlucky duo, the sea otter, also jumped down. What kind of people are you? Wrong. What kind of birds are you? Blonde hair, looked at the unlucky duo vigilantly. The arrow in his hand still did not drop. As the protector of this country, Margaret has a duty to rule out any threat against the country. Even if it's just bald eagles and sea otters. Intelligence agent Sea Otter 1 quickly took out a drawing board from the package behind him. Swish swish, Sea Otter holds a drawing board in the left and a paintbrush in the right. Pens fly. It's just a few short breaths before and after. Sea Otter put down the brush and showed Margaret the drawing on the drawing board. This is Lord Snake Princess. Look at the lifelike portrait of the Empress displayed by Sea Otter. The protector of the country. Margaret suddenly widened her beautiful eyes in surprise. This cool-looking Sea Otter wearing sunglasses can still draw so realistically and vividly. This discovery completely subverts Margaret's conventional understanding of animals. So much so that he couldn't help but stand still for a while. Serious Sea Otter 1 pointed to the Empress Boa Hancock on the portrait and made a few simple gestures. Margaret understood. So the pair of beautiful eyes widened even more. The pretty face was full of incredible looks. You want to see Lord Snake? Margaret groaned softly. Sea Otter 1 nodded seriously. No. Margaret decisively refused. As a protector of the country, how could she take these two strange creatures of unknown origin to meet the honorable emperor so easily? Margaret, what happened? Just then, small old man with a snake-headed cane climbed the city wall. What, Grandma? Look at the coming old man. Margaret's face suddenly brightened. Why, Grandma, you came just right. Margaret, what happened? The former emperor of the 9 snakes, Gu Luoli, stepped forward with a puzzled look. Then she also saw the strange vultures and sea otters on the city walls. Why, mother-in-law, this sea otter with sunglasses said he wanted to see Lord Hancock. Margaret rode. Nani? Gloriosa's eyes widened. At the same time, Sea Otter 1 is also the little old woman who was staring at the arrival. He recalled some information that he had told him before he left. Sea Otter 1 takes several newspapers from the backpack behind him and hands them to Gloriosa. Gloriosa took the newspaper blankly. A casual glance. An extremely shocked and horrified look suddenly appeared on an old face. The 800-year myth of the world government has been broken, and the Enies lobby has fallen. Who is so bold? This is Rayleigh. Rayleigh actually killed Tenryubito. Sky Island going township. Going big clock tower. Look at the big events reported in the newspapers. The little old woman Gloriosa was shocked to the extreme. What's the matter with you, mother-in-law? Gloriosa, whose expression was shocked and sluggish, the girl Margaret couldn't help but feel a little worried. No, nothing, it's just that the news reported in these newspapers is too shocking. Gloriosa looks at the Sea Otter 1. Wait, what did she ask? Sea Otter 1 took out a letter from the backpack behind him again. Gloriosa disassembled. The letter is simple, with only a few words. However, Gloriosa's expression changed drastically. She showed a shocking expression that was even more exaggerated than the news she had seen before. Because this letter was originally written to her. Sea Otter, who sent you over and wrote this letter? The light in Gloriosa's eyes skyrocketed, and his emotions fell into violent fluctuations. A powerful aura suddenly burst out from the small body. What, Grandma? The shocking color on the pretty face of the girl Margaret was even more intense. Over the years, she had never seen such a terrifying expression on the normally friendly Gloriosa. Under the pressure of Gloriosa's momentum, Vulture took a few steps back involuntarily. Friday. Sea Otter 1 was sweating profusely, it still did not take a step back. The right hand flew again. After a while, the sketch of the Empress Hancock on the drawing board disappeared. Instead, a sketch of a young man appears. Look at the sketch of the young man on the drawing board. Gloriosa was struck by lightning in an instant. An old face full of shock and disbelief, it turned out to be him. How could it be him? This heartbreaker died 36 years ago. He took my sister away. Gloriosa muttered absent-mindedly. Her head banged, and a thunderstorm ran through her mind, bringing her thoughts back to decades ago, the chaotic sea where the crowd gathered. In that era, there are countless heroes and monsters in the sea. Rock's pirates, headed by the master of the sea, Rocks, has made the whole world a mess. Until 36 years ago. Marine's hero, the man that Garp and her sister Jasmine longed for, ended the era of the Rocks, the masters of the sea. For the sake of that man, her younger sister Jasmine still followed her old path, not hesitate to give up the throne, just to get a hug from that person. However, fate is always so unpredictable. 36 years ago that day, the nine-snake emperor who dared to go deep into the tiger's den and boldly went to the marine headquarters, saw only the bloody light above the red earth continent. What followed was the man's death. On that day, the devastated nine-snake pirate emperor was arrested. Before she was locked in and impelled down, someone released her. However, her heart has long since died with that person. Just 1 year later, Jasmine, the former emperor of the Nine Snakes, with endless longing and grief, became ill with grief and finally died. What's the matter, mother-in-law, what's going on? Tell me clearly. Girl Margaret supported the staggered and lost Gloriosa and asked anxiously and urgently. Call. Gloriosa took a deep breath. He forced himself to calm down and the huge shock in his heart was like a river overturned. Don't ask anything now, Margaret, I don't know how to answer. Go to see Snake G now. If that man really returns alive, this sea will undergo unprecedented drastic changes. Gloriosa said with a shocked expression. Chapter 280 The Shock of the Three Boa Sisters. Open black lens bracket 4/4 for subscription. Close black lens bracket. Get out of the way, get out of the way. The bustling Nine Snakes capital street. The little old woman Gloriosa took hurried steps and hurriedly went to the direction of the palace of the Nine Snakes. Why, mother-in-law, slow down. Behind Gloriosa. Even though Margaret, the protector of the country, gave birth to a pair of long legs, at this moment, she couldn't catch up with the old woman with short feet in front of her. As the former emperor of the Nine Snakes. Although Gloriosa is old, his strength is still not to be underestimated. Even the crowded crowd could not stop her in the slightest. That's Granny and Margaret. Somewhere up in the street, the national protector Captain Kikyo with black hair and purple eyeshadow frowned. Margaret, shouldn't you be in charge of patrolling over the city wall now? Why did you come here? Tall, with some giant blood, the female giant warrior Evrandra waved and greeted. Sorry, Eflandra, I have encountered something a little bit, and I have asked Dobby to help me watch over the city wall. Margaret glanced at her partner, then turned back. Gloriosa had disappeared from her sight. Hey, Margaret, what happened and where did that vulture come from? Kikyo jumped up from the roof, the captain of the national protector, keenly aware of the unlucky duo flying high in the sky. The snake bow in his hand took shape, and instantly aimed at the sea otters and vultures in the sky. Don't. Just as Kikyo's armament arrows are about to blaze out. Margaret hurriedly stopped drinking. Margaret. The look of puzzlement on the face of Kikyo, the captain of the protector of the country, was even worse. I can't tell the details for a while. Even I am confused. Anyway, my mother-in-law said that this is a major event related to the fate of our Nine Snakes. Now I am going to the Tiansho Pavilion to see Lord Snake Princess. Margaret spoke anxiously. What is the big event about the fate of the Nine Snakes? Captain Kikyo's breathing stagnated, and it was very shocking. After about 3 minutes, Margaret arrives at the castle tower. Little old woman, Gloriosa, had already entered before her. She screamed anxiously from inside the tower. Snake Princess, where are you? Shut up, stinky old woman. An arrogant voice came from the Tiansho Pavilion with Chinese architectural style. The voice of Boa Hancock, the Emperor of the Nine Snakes and the Pirate Queen. Mother-in-law, what are you doing? Don't go in, you will be thrown out by my sister. Because of the ability of the snake fruit, the sturdy Sandersonia and Marigold reminded kindly. Sonia-sama, growled Sama. Margaret, are you okay? Boa Sandersonia with green curly hair frowned. Two adults, please let my mother-in-law go in and meet people, this time something really happened. Margaret said anxiously. Well, fine then. Sandersonia nodded. The gates of the palace opened with a sound. The crowd rushed in. At the same time, the bald eagle descended on the top of the castle tower on Friday. Sea Otter 1 jumped down and landed coolly on the balcony. Just happened to meet the Pirate Queen Boa Hancock face to face. Under the beauty of the Pirate Queen that can turn all living beings upside down. Even sea otters of different races are not immune. The original cool shape instantly broke 5, gong. Easily petrified. HMPH, even the mere beasts dare to invade the concubine's room. Boa Hancock sneered and was about to smash the petrified sea otter with 1 foot. Stop. Critical moment. Little old woman, Gloriosa, gave a loud shout, and threw herself out violently, taking the initiative to meet the high heels of the Empress, and protect the petrified sea otter. Stinky old woman, you've been noisy since just now. Boa Hancock spoke angrily, twisting the high heels on Gloriosa's back. Lord Snake, why does my mother-in-law really have something important to report this time? Margaret took a worried step forward. Empress Hancock snorted softly and retracted her right foot. Whoops. Gloriosa snorted. Carefully, after confirming that the sea otter did not have any damage, this breathed out. Snake Princess, you first unlock the petrification of this sea otter. Gloriosa rode. You are not qualified to order a concubine. Hancock, who has always been rebellious to Gloriosa, naturally would not be obedient. Okay. Gloriosa shook his head helplessly. Then he solemnly lined up the newspapers behind him on the ground. Chiji, I know you don't care about the news from the outside world, but these. You really have to take a look. Gloriosa spoke solemnly. Boa Hancock raised his head proudly and showed his will with practical actions. Rayleigh, Uncle Rayleigh is on the news. Uncle Rayleigh actually killed one. Tenryubito. When Sandersonia and Marigold saw the news about the big event in Sabayati, they couldn't help exclaiming. A look of fear flashed across his face involuntarily. Slaves of Tenryubito in their childhood, and have a natural fear of Tenryubito. Even hearing the 3 words Tenryubito, my body tensed involuntarily. This is not just for the sisters. Boa Hancock, who is called the Proud Queen by the world, is no exception. Rayleigh, killed Tenryubito. Boa Hancock's beautiful face showed shock. I want you to watch not only this, but also several other major events. Gloriosa reminder. Enies Lobby. The Enies Lobby of the world government has been captured by someone. Going Township. The legendary Going City Chandola really exists. So does the Going Clock Tower. Sandersonia and Marigold looked at the other newspapers and couldn't help but shout again. In addition to these events before you now, there are the East Blue Shuffling, the massacre in Mock Town, the war in South Blue, and so on. For months, above the sea a lot of events are all linked together. Gloriosa spoke quietly. Mother-in-law, what do you mean? What are these events related to our 9 snakes? Sandersonia said anxiously. It's true that these big events have nothing to do with us 9 snakes, but Gloriosa holds a petrified sea otter. The person behind this series of big events. The mystery behind Shichibukai crocodile has come to us. The sea otter and the vulture are the messenger sent by that man. Gloriosa spoke quietly. Nani?